It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Here we are, Monday, already the 4th day of February, 2013. I am your host, Alex Jones. All right, here's what's going to happen. We've got Lord Monckton, who is over in Australia, popping in for 30 minutes at the tail end of the broadcast today. He's going to be joining us to talk about Agenda 21 4 or 5 years ahead of us, because Australia, more than any other country, except for maybe England, is implementing this neo-feudalistic form of serfdom, and that's the UN's own words. They've called for a fake environmentalism to bring in serfdom to control the population. So that's coming up. Now, we are going to open the phones up and take your phone calls here today as well. Yesterday on the Sunday broadcast, I said that I was going to cover the mysterious death of Chris Kyle, the highly decorated Navy SEAL who was involved in all sorts of clandestine black ops, obviously, and wrote the Navy's official sniper manual, their new sniper manual. They didn't have one previous to that. They used the Marine Corps sniper manual. But he wrote an updated manual, and he was deep into the system, obviously, and was the head trainer for the Navy SEALs in their sharpshooting program. We saw the Navy SEALs helicopter in SEAL Team 6 blow up with 20-something of them aboard. We saw the other helicopter blow up in the fake bin Laden raid. So much of this is domestic psyops, and the SEALs more and more are used as a political core with the new SEAL Team 6 Zero Dark 30 movie, which they admit is basically fiction. We're being bombarded with lies. And I got to tell you, the fact that he was pushing to put guns in schools and arm teachers, and the fact that he knew so many secrets, and then somebody he takes out to the range with PTSD trying to help him, that's the story we're told. We don't know if any of this is true. We're being told this by the government. And then he's killed. You see, I'm not a conspiracy theorist in the way the media uses it. When known liars, certified liars, who've been caught lying over and over and over again and caught staging things, tell me something, I don't just immediately believe it. That doesn't mean the official story isn't true, because sometimes you get people who are not corrupt in the system, or it's a real event. Sometimes the truth comes out because you've got good people in media, good people in government, and it's not a staged event, and so you'll have regular folks involved. But when it is a staged event, you'll see key players involved and key scripting, and you'll see an official story being put out very, very quickly. And the shaping immediately and the preparation and the unification of the propaganda is a telltale sign. We saw that with the Aurora shooting in Colorado and then all the other telltale signs. And we do see it in Sandy Hook to a great extent. I believe there was a shooting there. You know, it's like we say there's an inside job on 9/11. That just means criminal elements of the globalist structure somehow opened the door, allowed it to happen, ordered stand-downs. We know that happened. We know the official story's a lie. Doesn't mean there aren't, quote, Muslim extremists. But see, the system comes out and has their operatives say, there were no planes. And the originator of that, it later turned out, worked for the CIA. Very strange. See, so when I say there could be government involvement or criminal involvement by other actors at Sandy Hook, the spin is, oh, you're saying nobody died. No, I'm saying people did die. But there's clear scripting and things. So it's a complex issue, but we're going to be getting into that. The power outage. It appeared to be staged by yours truly. They're getting you ready, and they've said this, to have more and more power outages across America. This is going to be a new way of life, just as it was in Romania under Ceausescu. So we're going to break that down as well. In the latest Second Amendment news, it is all key. Don't tread on me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this live Monday edition. Marines to invade South Carolina. That is just the daily news as large expeditionary forces of the Army, the Marines, the TSA, you name it, practice taking over Capitol buildings, practice taking over schools, practice taking over malls. And I have been to many of these urban warfare training events, but we also see it now currently reported in the news. In many of the drills, they practice mowing down human wave attacks. They are simulating killing, in some cases, unarmed American citizens. And when the public videotapes it and gets upset, they say, oh, it's a zombie drill. It's a joke. That's why we've got 1,000 Marines, landing in San Diego a few months ago to practice killing zombies. Oh, that's why there's black helicopters that lease a building in the middle of town and then blow it up and catch it on fire, and men are rappelling down off ropes and the police are involved. It's all to acclimate and condition the public. On record for martial law. It's all official. In the Army training manuals, in the Army Times, in Stars and Stripes. Brigade Homeland since 2008 has been officially announced, and they plan to have troop force up to 370+ thousand troops. That is the goal. And they're going to pull them out of Iraq, out of Afghanistan, and they're going to be the new domestic military. And you're going to have Obama, we have a clip of that coming up in a moment, running around giving more speeches saying, we need a domestic security force just as big, just as strong as our military. You've all seen and heard that quote over and over and over again. And we should do another special report this week showing top brass talking about it on C-SPAN, the Pentagon talking about it in Pentagon videos online. You've got not just Rahm Emanuel in 2 different speeches saying you'll have national service, but now you're seeing all these other groups pushing for it, and they're telling high schoolers, hey, it's going to be compulsory that you serve in the new FEMA Corps, but it's not going to be planting trees. It's not going to be building national park bunkhouses like they had in the 30s and 40s with the national make-work programs. It's going to be unpaid compulsory volunteerism, which is another Orwellian term. This is the insanity of the world that we live in. Look at this other article up at Infowars.com. Robots replace waiters in China. That's right. They're not just going to replace manufacturing jobs and have robots working on the robots. No, now they're going to replace people as waiters. And again, the globalists have decided to go with this angle to make humans obsolete. To make humans obsolete. To fully get control of the civilization and to have a technocratic, centralized system. And people say, this is a terrible future you're telling us about. I'm not the one manifesting this. The globalists are engineering it in that direction. We're going to be going over that report. Reuters report contradicts Obama skeet shooting photo. I don't even know what to say about this other than it's definitely a psyop. And this is cognitive dissonance that Cass Sunstein talked about and that Cass Sunstein engaged in, 4 years ago in public white papers, and that's why he was hired and brought into the White House. He's now left the White House, but for 4 years he was the head of their policy board. He was the czar, the regulation czar. I know shotguns. And I have photographed and videotaped, even as a novice before I had a TV show, firing shotguns and firing rifles and firing handguns over and over again. And I can tell you right now, that looks like a fake photo to me. And I actually noticed that first there's a controversy that, oh, he doesn't really skeet shoot or like guns, which they kind of stirred up. And then the White House over the weekend, and I'm going to cover this, I have it here in the stack once we get over some of the top news. The White House comes out and says, don't you claim this isn't real. And then another little comment, they say, by the way, this is copyright. No one is allowed to Photoshop this. This is only for media. Knowing that that will stir people up and make them go out and Photoshop it. And by the way, I've looked at the precedent, I've looked at the law. White House photos are public domain. You paid for it. That's why you can go to the National Archives and just pay for the copying, pay for the cost of copying and the tape, or now the hard drive, and get all of the gun pod footage, get all of the hydrogen bombs going off. Companies take it and then remaster it and then call it copyright. Or the voiceover is copyright on Discovery Channel or History Channel, but not the footage. And so I've actually looked into this. I've actually purchased National Archive film. You have to actually get it through another company or go, and you have to send someone in with the archivist, and that's how you buy it and get it. So I've actually been through the process, I know. Why would they come out and say, you will not use this, you will not Photoshop that? Cass Sunstein said, we'll go in and stir them up. We'll put out fake conspiracies. We'll get everybody hyped up. We'll get everybody diverted. We'll get everybody to look at fake conspiracy theories or conspiracy theories that don't matter. He wrote 2 papers on it. One for Chicago Business School, the neocon outfit, and one for Harvard. Look them up. He wrote them 6 years ago and then wrote more papers when he got in the White House in 2009. I mean, just look it up. Cass Sunstein, cognitive infiltration. I always say cognitive dissonance. It's cognitive infiltration. And that's what they're doing here. They put out a blatantly fake birth certificate so that we'd run around and talk about it all day, knowing the public would just choose sides or get confused while the insider trading goes on by Congress, while the UN openly is in command of our military along with NATO, while our government publicly arms and commands al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria and Mali and a bunch of other places, while TSA occupies every major city from Seattle to L.A. to Dallas, Austin, Texas, Houston, Texas, Kansas City, Chicago, New York City, Boston, you name it. You name it. They're there. I mean, they're now there with, quote, spot checks on South Lamar at the bus terminals and the train terminals, but they also are doing it to people on the highway now. And it's totally illegal, and they search everybody's bags without warrants. And they're out of their jurisdiction, and it's all just a probing operation. And that ties into this information that's coming up. Why is the government stockpiling guns and ammo? Joseph Farah, WorldNet Daily asked. And he says, why is the government gearing up for war? Why are they buying billions of bullets? Why are they buying all the automatic weapons? Why are they buying armored vehicles? He says it's about the civilian national security force, as big, as strong, as well-funded as the Defense Department, to quote Barack Obama. And Farah says that's what he believes is going on. He says, I have some theories. You know, those of us that have been right all along need to stop saying we have theories. I'm going to get Joseph Farah back on. I want to get him back on this week or next week. Because it's all there. It's like you walk into your living room, there's a giant elephant sitting there on top of a pile of crap, excuse my French. And you're like, I don't know, I got a theory. That looks like an elephant. You're like, well, it's got big ears, it's gray, it's got hair, it's got giant feet, it's got tusks. I don't know, though. Look, it's all in the Army memos, the Army manuals. Maybe Farah's just a good writer, and he knows people like a mystery. You know, I notice everybody always calls me with, I think there's a FEMA camp in my neighborhood. I mean, under the Model States Health Emergency Powers Act, they designate the centers. And then you can cross-reference it with the Emergency Centers Establishment Act that just was giving more funding to already existing facilities and plans, and then it matches up to the 2002 FEMA plan. And you can look up all the clergy response team training, what they're training the preachers for, to, quote, go to the FEMA camp, take the shots, turn your guns in when you're told. This is all official. And then 4 years after we break the news here on Genesis, it's mainstream media and InfraGard and Brigade Homeland and Army Times and all the countless drills. And I've talked to the Delta Force people off record. They talked to Lieutenant Beck here in town. He gave me info, so they ran him out of the SWAT team. Vietnam veteran, patriot, great guy, ran him out, kicked him out of the Travis County SWAT team because he gave me information that was not classified. I went in his office 2 years before, and I said, you're going to be approached by Delta Force, and when they do, you need to understand it's illegal. And they're going to offer you money. And this is part of a corruption program, just like they corrupt third world countries. That's how they took over Iraq. And I said, next they're going to be asking you to deal drugs. And he said, get out of here. That's posse comitatus. I'm a Vietnam sniper vet. That's unconstitutional. It'll never happen. You're nuts. And I said, they're approaching every city in the country. They will approach you. He calls me up 2 years ago. He goes, can you come to my office, please? Delta Force card, everything he said, I said was, of course I'm right. I know what I'm talking about. This is martial law. Alex Jones here, back live. I'm going to open the phones up on the Super Bowl power outage, what you think that was all about. I've got some news concerning it that's pretty amazing I'm going to get to. Even mainstream news is reporting is an Illuminati conspiracy because the singer flashes an Illuminati hand sign and then the power goes out. And it's just all part of them extending it out, having more time for ads, and getting everybody ready for the power to start going out. In fact, in Europe and worldwide, they have Earth Day where everybody turns their lights out for the day, for the evening, for 1 hour. They have a lot of different special greeny holidays where they want to accustom you to everybody has their power go out because only the government districts are going to have the power. And see, for a new listener, it's like, man, is everything a conspiracy with this guy? I have so much knowledge on this, it's very frustrating. I'm not bragging, hey, I have knowledge. It's freaking me out that the general public doesn't have 1/100th of the information I have because you're focused on making money and doing your job and trying to take care of your kids and trying to have a good life. I don't blame you. I get it. You work hard. You want to go watch a football game. You work hard, you want to be left alone. You work hard, you want to go get in your sports car and go drive 100 miles an hour out in the countryside. I get it. You work hard, you want to go out and go water skiing, or you want to go out and have some fun, go out and party. The problem is we've been taken over and things are going to get very, very bad. But as things get worse and worse, people are going to say, well, let me just have my entertainment. Let me just leave me alone. In fact, statistics and history shows as things get worse, people tend to get even more into entertainment and more into escapism. And the social engineers know that. But what they can't get over is tribal images and archetypes and signets, runes of power. And that's what guns are, that's what property is, that's what parenthood is. It's real things like weapons and children and property. This is all real. And they can't get rid of that last little pieces, the family, men and women, and their desire for one another. Friendship, people standing up for one another. That's why all the messages are, don't stand up for people, screw other people, cheat other people, get ahead, so that you're all atomized and can't come together. I mean, when I get up here and say the Super Bowl power outage looks staged, you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that I know. In fact, I want to do a special report on this. It's just that I want to do a special report on everything. I want to document everything and every article I cover. Every one of these 200 articles is probably more than two. Can we have a document cam, guys? There's probably 200 different articles here. Every one of them I could spend 3 hours on and then give you supporting backup information on each and every one of them, proving why I believe what I believe, why I say what I say, what I'm going over. what I'm breaking down. Okay? I mean, here's an example. I have the UN proclamations in the 1960s and 70s saying they wanted to train people to not have electricity and to not expect electricity 24 hours a day and to not accept running water and to not accept things, and that the globalists could charge us more money for a gallon of water than for 10,000 gallons of it, and that society was set up wrong, and that wealth was making us too free, and the social engineers were going to lose control of technological development and their global monopoly of power if they didn't bring the general population back into feudal serfdom. And that's why all the trendy resorts and all the trendy restaurants all over the country and other countries I've been to, you go in and they're not low flush toilets. There is no water. They're not low flush urinals. There is no water. And you're at a 5-star restaurant and the bathroom stinks like a gas station because the urine's going down into a cistern below that gets processed and turned into fertilizer and stuff. Okay? They make it trendy to be a slave, just like the ancient Chinese emperors. They were told it's stylish to not be able to walk. It's stylish to not be able to feed yourself. And the ruling power behind the throne fully took over. This is the system. They tell you it's stylish to be a slave. They tell you it's stylish not to be manly. They tell you it's stylish not to be a classical mother. They tell you all of this not to empower you, but to enslave you. So see, I know this was a stunt. I know in my gut, and I know their MO. 99% chance, okay? 99% chance. Because I happen to remember other stunts where they had official sporting events go dark in the past. And I predict next Super Bowl they'll say, we're now going to make this a tradition to have the power go out. Watch when we come back. All right, finishing up before I give out the number and get into some other news, then go to your phone calls. They were billing this Super Bowl as the most green-friendly ever. But green-friendly for me means not having genetically modified organisms being manufactured by the thousand every year, not having human genetics put into sheep, cows, you name it, so that you can then have cross-species zoological transference of pathogens, bacteria and virus, and it gives rise to dangerous mutations, not having toxic waste dumped in our food supply, not having dangerous experiments going on with antimatter. You know, these are the things that could actually destroy the planet, destroy us. Not carbon dioxide plants breathe, not, it's bad to have electricity, it's bad to flush your toilet. When all your toilet does, if you have, say, a septic system, is send it out through a bacteria tank and then sends fertilized water out to your green yard, creating a recycled ecosystem. It's all renewable. Oh, humans are bad. Humans are evil. You're saying, how do I know this was staged? Well, I went back and reviewed the video right before it happened. I saw the way they were behaving, some of the things they did right when it happened, the way they behaved once it unfolded. Most people obviously weren't in on it, but it's all about to see if they can get away with it. And how do I know this? Well, the UN has called for this. In fact, guys, we use search engine Enron staged blackouts. And then you all hear about it on Earth Day and World Day and all these other days they have where simultaneously nations turn their lights out. They're getting you trained. And Enron said in its internal memos that came out in the federal trial that, well, if we found if we cut the power, it creates the artificial perception of scarcity. The perception so that we can have artificial scarcity. Yeah, there's Wall Street Journal. Enron linked to California blackouts. Traders said manipulation began energy crisis. Yeah, and then it came out in the federal court. That's from 2002. It came out that they would do it, and some days they'd make $1 billion extra. Some weeks, $3 or $4 billion extra. All over the West Coast, but mainly in California, saying there isn't enough power, there isn't enough power. Oh my gosh, okay, you want power? You went without power for 6 hours today, Los Angeles. We're going to have to charge you more. Give me my power then. All right, it's free market. Truth is, they had a glut of power. The truth is, they were telling their switching stations, calling them on the phone, because all these people weren't conspirators. They were just told by the Enron that had the contracts over the agreement, okay, start cutting power over the next 24 hours. Cut it down to almost nothing. I mean, they have to build the grid up, have actuaries of how much is going to be used, prepare and guess with computers. In the old days, they did it with big, thick pads of paper. And they would sit there and guess, okay, this time of year, generally this much power gets used. We know when it gets hot, they're going to use more air conditioners. We know when it's cold, okay, this many people on average have electric power. They're not using gas, or, okay, we had this much power used last year. We guess there's going to be that much. And then if there's extra power, it has to then be stored in big giant batteries and other systems. That power is destructive. It will blow things up. They've got it all dialed in. And the Soviets would do this in their satellites to control people. Romania and places, they had policies to just get it to where there were a couple hours of power a day, and then only select factories and government buildings, they had power 24 hours a day. And they're already setting up the actuaries. See, I've studied this issue. I've talked to people that work as engineers in scores of power plants. I've talked to plant managers. I've researched it at every level. I've got a lot of family that works in power plant management and power storage. Yeah, tapes reveal Enron's secret role in California power blackouts, London Guardian. Boom. See, and this is one stinking data point. I have hundreds. Do you know what it's like to be sure of their criminal activity and not be able to stop them? But see, you know they want your guns to enslave you. People saw it worldwide, and they've seen it in cities these globalist mafia people run. So see, on that one issue, you know not to trust them, so they're not victorious, even though they're trying everything they've got to go after our guns, and they're trying to launch out of control, outside of law purges against gun owners. It still doesn't matter, because on one issue, you're not backing down, you're angry, you're upset, and you're not going to play games, okay? All you've got to do is figure out their scam on every other issue, and it's over, okay? It's over. Let me continue. In fact, I'm going to do a report on this. I could show you right now. It would just take the whole hour. Type in UN calls for controlled blackouts to lower carbon footprint. Type in carbon footprint a depression is good for a carbon footprint. You can go read the UN admitting that the mega banks are engineering this, but it's all in academic level above PhD. You don't get taught this stuff at the London School of Economics. You don't get taught this stuff at Harvard. You don't get taught this stuff at Yale. I've interviewed people. There's only one a year that goes through the special Rockefeller Foundation program that Henry Kissinger was the first graduate of to be a super gopher for them. You don't go through that until you've got 2 PhDs and are selected. And I have interviewed one of the people who's got that special above PhD level degree. Francis Boyle, constitutional lawyer. Dr. Boyle, professor, who they've got on a no-fly list. He's not even allowed to fly. They hate him so much because he turned against them. He got all the way to the highest level, played along with them, and they let him into all of it. This is how it works. Major universities may graduate 5 of these people a year, okay? And it's Chicago business, it's Yale, it's Harvard, it's Princeton. The University of Texas has got the former NSA head running it. They're hatching them out. And Aaron Dykes got into the political science higher level, not the highest level, but they were wanting him to go for his PhD and stuff because he was had high grades. And he got right up in there, and it was, yeah, world government's real. We're going to get rid of the family, everything else. I mean, my dad got into the lower mid-levels of this, and they all told him. Folks, this is an absolute 100% fact, okay? Okay? They turned the power off at the Super Bowl to get you ready for more power outages. Remember my article 2 years ago? The drudgereport.com picked up and went viral everywhere, and the White House, Jay Carney, responded. I guess it was a year and a half ago when he first got in there and replaced the other idiot, Gibbs. And they responded, so that's ridiculous. There's not going to be rolling blackouts because of us. We're not shutting down power plants, even though they'd already shut down a couple hundred. Texas now has rolling blackouts when it gets cold or when it gets hot. We have to buy the power from Mexico. Dirty plants the globalists don't. And there it is, depression good for reducing carbon emissions. Bloomberg, that's an Infowars.com article, but if you click Bloomberg, that blue link right there, it'll show you. And the UN says use public events in their Pull it up. They say, we will use public events to turn the power off to teach everyone it's good, and we will ritualize not having running water, not having electricity. They're going to turn your electricity off. You're not going to have it. In the actuary agreements in San Francisco and Austin and Okinawa, these sister model UN cities under munalization plans, just go look it up. Austin Special Model UN City, thousands of pages, UN website. They say the central governing districts and the central governing zoning areas will never lose power. That's why all the elite where I live, doesn't matter, there's houses 10 times as big outside town for cheaper. They move into little bitty houses in Tarrytown. I say little bitty for these people. Billionaires are down there. They move into 3 and 4 and 5 bedroom houses because that's where the police protection zone is. You've heard the police call in and confirm this. The police captains know where the special zones are at. Those places will not have their power cut off. The reason they're tearing up the roads and putting in bus lanes and stuff and bike lanes is they're going to shut everything off in the future. They're not playing games, is my point. You understand what it's like to know of this criminal activity? A bunch of seedy swine bags playing God because we stand down and let them run all over us? The UN maps presented in Congress, I'm showing one on screen right now, half the country, right at half, completely off limits. And folks, in Burma and other areas, I saw it in 1999. I've got to find it. It was about Asia, and it showed UN zones, biosphere zones, and it showed men with machine guns who shoot anyone that enters them. They kill you if you enter it. They're already doing this in Africa and Latin America. Look it up. Even the New York Times. African people are and others, and Latin Americans are being killed for UN programs to, quote, reclaim land of the earth, kicking people off their ancestral land, forcing them into giant megacities to then work for 2 cents an hour. And then the government says, guess what? Just get sterilized, do this and that, and we will give you $5,000, the equivalent of what they'd make in 3 or 4 or 5 years, and they do it. And you're like, good, sterilize them. There's too many people. You idiots. You idiot yuppies. You're not white racist, because that's not what they are. They're on power trips like they're scientists, and they've been let in on the program, because it is. Everybody's let in on it. You go to any cocktail party, even just mainline people that don't even have their 4-year science degree yet, and start talking about, we need to get rid of people, we need to reduce population, and that, and they'll start singing from the same sheet of music. Don't you get it, you morons? They're putting it in your food. They're putting it in your water. They're putting it in your air. They're soft killing you as well. They just can't do it as openly and as fast because we have something of a free press left that would report on it. I mean, I remember 2 years ago, I saw major pro-life sites that are highly respected saying Pepsi is using aborted fetus body parts to produce specially grown, cultured flavor enhancer. It's basically a genetically engineered flavor. They want to be able to just drop a vial of it into a soup and ferment the flavor. Okay? Just like aspartame is E. coli. And I saw that and I said, that's not true. And I went and looked it up and it was true. And then the Obama administration ruled for PepsiCo that the shareholders didn't have to be told where the babies were coming from. And then it all came out. In fact, you can even type in, it happened last year, PepsiCo agrees to stop using fetal tissue. People didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. But actually, I should have believed it. I already knew it. They had cloned humans 20 years ago. They just don't call it a human because they kill the baby before it's born. They grow them in artificial wombs, and then they say it's not a human because it was changed. They add 1% pig, 1% cow, 1%. Look this up. This has already been going on for 20 years. And then it's not a human, and it's not a clone. They give it other semantical names, and then they suck them dry and use them. Yeah, PepsiCo says it will halt use of aborted fetal cells in flavor research. It's also in the Washington Times. And they go, technically, we're not feeding you babies. We grow the culture out of the stem cell line from the dead babies. That's right. That's right. For whatever reason, I guess, I got to admit, veal tastes really good. Something about, baby flesh tastes pretty good. When I go out and I go hunting, if I'm going to shoot something and isn't a big buck, I'm going to shoot a yearling doe, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to have it cut into steaks. I hunt if I hunt to eat it. If I see a big, ugly old jackrabbit, I'm not going to, that thing's going to have, fleas all over them and it tastes like, but if I see a little fluffy jackrabbit hopping around, my 22-250 is going to shoot you at about 200 yards and I'm going to eat you. Back when I had time to be a woodsman and do such things like that, my true love, it's any man's true love, you ever go out and do it. And so it's sick. You're eating a flavor enhancement from a baby. From a baby, and you don't even care. Just like they have suicide nets, not just at Foxconn, but dozens of other, I don't know, I looked it up, something like 30 major companies have built in China around their dorms suicide nets. And they're saying, don't worry, Foxconn said, we're just going to go to robots. But they still need human technicians to work on the robots. See, they don't need us, they don't want us, they took the world over through fraud, and they're coming for everyone. And they've had other global soccer games. Type in power turned off, lights go dark at soccer game to mark Earth Day. Just type that in. I want to show them. This is the program. I know them. They have blueprints. They have handbooks. And so once their robot armies are in place, robot engineers, robot sewer repair, robot street repair, robot security, robot combat, once that's all in, and we're only talking 5 to 10 years, but they're going to probably let it go a little bit further than that to make sure all systems are good. They're going to launch a Skynet attack on us, but it's not going to be nuclear. It's going to be biological and chemical. But it's humans running Skynet, okay? And again, you can pull this up in the 70s. The Pentagon called it, and it's actually in my book that's out of print now, but it's on prisonplanet.tv and InfoWarsNews.com. They actually call it Skynet and a control grid. See, people see this info who are in Hollywood, and in between the CIA and Hollywood, that's like two peas in a pod, and then they put the culture out to get you ready. But it's not machines coming commanded by machines. It is elite globalists who believe they're going to merge with the machines. They believe the evolutionary path has already been predestined. They've chosen this path. They have chosen the best possible path to immortality is cybernetic merger. And they're offering the greatest intelligentsia of the world entree into that system if they will serve it. Number one, you reap what you sow. You're not going to get this immortality. Number two, it's horrible what you're doing. And number three, you can't trust the globalists that engineered this thing. You think they're going to let people like you stay around that are a lot smarter than them? Do you think they're going to keep you around? You are gravely mistaken. This is not good. We should offer the technology to everyone. We should be honest about what's going on, and we should have giant global initiatives that are accepted at the nation-state level and accepted and voted on by the people of goals of off-world colonies and bring out all this technology and be honest about it, and we can people the stars together. But I'm telling you, that decision has been cut off. That is not happening. That is not the direction we're going. You're slated for death. And as soon as their grid's in place, they're going to release the bioweapons and the chemical weapons. And all of you people that have served the system and think you're part of it, you're going to die. I hope you understand that's the program, that's the plan, and I've warned you, and that's why I'm not worried about getting killed or being put in prison. There's no future if we don't turn this around. And we need to have an intervention with ourselves and realize this system and what people think about you and all the TV and the culture, it means nothing. Sitting there, I dropped by a party last night that I was invited to. And it was a nice group of people. And I just watched them, and a lot of them were listeners. Super Bowl party. It was at a restaurant they shut down for the party. And I watched all these nice people. It was Steiner Steakhouse. And I watched all these people sit there and watch the fake thing rolled out for them. Whereas they all were having a lot more fun before we stopped and started watching the game. Well, it doesn't matter. All right, when we start the next hour, I'll start taking your phone calls. He's popping in for one segment. We've got the author of The Fix Is In. He says one of the most corrupt outfits is the NFL staging things. And he's been in the FBI files. It's been documented. The question is, how much is staged? Well, how much will you put up with? He's going to pop in to give us his take on the power outage, but the game in general. Because if I talk about the Super Bowl and then use it as a way to get people to think about larger issues, we can take a globalist tool of propaganda and actually turn it around against them. Here's something I want to get across to you. The decision has been made at MIT, the United Nations, the Club of Rome, the Bilderberg Group. Anyone who reads science magazines knows this. 15 years ago, I was reading white papers where they said this was the plan. And those were white papers from decades before in some cases. But I'd never seen it in Scientific American. I'd never seen it in the Journal of Nature. I'd never seen it in MIT magazine. Now they're going, no, there will be no need for humans, and we don't know what to do with you, and everything will be robotic, and the elites are going to merge with machines, and the decision has basically been that we're not even going to have humans deploy to space, and the manned space program is over, and everything is robots. That is a decision. That humans are obsolete, humans are a failure, humans are a joke, and the globalists are going to take full control of human evolution, in their words. And think of what a total revolution that is, where they just ignore what we want, they ignore what we say, they put out a fake Hollywood sports system, they suck everyone into it, while above us, a technocratic matrix engineer core is trying to build a matrix. We're not in total false reality yet. They put out fake shotgun photos. They do Illuminati signs right before they turn the power off. You know, Janet Jackson, it was an accident. My breast came out with the Illuminati sun sign on her. I mean, all staged. Oh, was it staged? Gee, did a bear go in the woods and go to the bathroom? Do fish live in the water? I mean, you know, again, they do it all to just exercise authority over us, where they publicly run Al-Qaeda and admit they do, but say you've got to give your liberties up because of Al-Qaeda. They just publicly do all of this to where even those of us that know it's going on, it's kind of like, oh, well, I knew TSA checkpoints were coming. Oh, there's one. Oh, they're going to search me. They've got guns now. Oh, it's for my safety. Oh, sure it is, yeah. It's looking for drugs, which the government is on record shipping the majority of in. And even the TSA will laugh and go, I know, it's our job. Again, it's about following orders. Oh, you've got a bubble thing that projects bubbles. We're going to call it a gun and call the SWAT team a Hello Kitty. Well, that's ridiculous. It's meant to be ridiculous. It's meant to just turn everything on its head until everything, the government's totally secret, but you have no privacy. That's backwards. Government's supposed to be wide open. You've got total privacy. Unless there's an eyewitness naming the place, person, and things, signing an affidavit, swearing they saw this. And if they're liars, they're going to jail. That's what you've got to do to spy on me. That's what you've got to do to come in my house. That's what you've got to do to put your hands on my person. But now, oh, no, the Fourth Amendment says reasonable. We find it reasonable. But it defines what reasonable is. Get the new magazine before it sells out, and it's going to sell out. Buy it in bulk in grips of 10 up to 100 at cost. Why the Tyrants Want Your Guns, our new February issue. It is a big, color, glossy pamphlet of information and quotes to wake people up. It is a weapon. InfoWarsStore.com. InfoWarsStore.com. And buy the Pro Pure with a new filtration system, 10% off with promo code WATER. Available at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. And we brought it back with a new design. Limited edition Obama Tyrant Joker poster. Wear it and get in people's faces. All right, here's the deal. I want to take your phone calls, but I really want people, myself included, to have their point, be ready to go. But to get to your point, because we don't screen your calls like you're talking to an audience. So many times people call up, and I really know this stuff inside, outside, backwards, and forwards, and I'm trying to follow the archaic stuff you're getting to. And that's good. Sometimes it's amazing. It's different. My show's different. I don't screen your calls other than sometimes if we have a guest on, it's a certain topic. We say, hey, you're going to be on this topic, right? But it's a free-for-all. Whatever you want to talk about, 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231, and we will get you up and on the air, 800-259-9231. Man, where to start? What I'll do is I'll take calls for 30 minutes, and we got a guest for about 10 minutes, then I'll take calls. And then in the third hour, I've got to go through all this news. I mean, it also gets to me that I read all this stuff and scan over it, and then I don't ever cover but about, 10% of it. I've got to get to what I think happened with Chris Kyle. I mean, how crazy is, come on, you know that smells. Come on. Come on, the timing, that guy of all people. I mean, what is the probability? Something's going on. Or maybe it is that they've had people serve 5, 6, 7 tours and put them on psychotropics. This guy was under psychiatric care, and the government did it to him that way either. I mean, it's government whether they staged it or not. I mean, we see extraordinary craziness happen because it's crazy, and it's going to get crazier. All the more reason we should have water filters, guns, be prepared. Try to move to the suburbs at least. Try to move out in the country if you can. That's what all the elite are doing. But when we do it, oh, it's weird. He's got guns and he's concerned about his security. And they even told their kids, don't trust the government. I'm sorry. I don't trust the government anymore. Because at the top, it's run by bad people. And more I see it trickling down. More and more, even if people in the government don't like it, they're following unconstitutional orders. They're following unconstitutional orders. And I understand sometimes it isn't a perfect world, or, you know, nobody's perfect. But, I mean, the system is really corrupt. And don't you instinctively, working for the system, not want your kids and grandkids growing up in this? I mean, look, I've said this a million times. You'll probably never meet your great-great-grandson or daughter. But if you could, wouldn't you love them as much as your son or daughter today or your grandchildren today? You know you would. In fact, there'd be a strange pride, wouldn't it? I mean, I know my grandmother, almost 90 years old, my last grandparent living, still sharp as a tack. She really gets satisfaction. You can see it in her eyes looking at her great-grandchildren. Think about it. That's the woman who had my mother, who had me, and now I have children. But if you think about it, I touch my mother touches her mother. It's my children came out of my genetics, my wife and I. And then I come from my mother, she comes from her mother, she comes from her mother, she comes from her mother. And you're only talking 30, 40 generations all the way back to the beginning of recorded history. We are touching George Washington. We are touching Colonel Travis. We are touching those that lived in the days of Christ. We are touching those that, that lived under the Qin dynasty in China. You are touching the old African kings if you're from Africa. You are directly... You are these people. You are literally their flesh and blood. The love they transferred magically. It is spiritual. I mean, good magic, like magic in the world, beauty, wonder. They are transferring that down in through the generations in a direct line. That's why this genetic engineering is blasphemy. The toll-free number to join us in this hour is 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. Again, it is Monday, the 4th day of February 2013. We've got a guest coming up, the author of The Fix Is In. Brian Tuohy is going to be coming on to get his take on the Super Bowl, the power outage that looked pretty darn staged. Even Yahoo Sports says, did Illuminati sign... Was it a signal that the power was to go out? How do you pronounce that woman's name? I'm embarrassed. I don't even know the name of these pop idiots. Beyonce, that's what I thought. Did Beyonce flash an Illuminati sign? Why did the Superdome power go out? Your Super Bowl mysteries solved. So we're going to be going over that. And again, all a conspiracy theorist is now is someone who questions known liars in corporate globalist media and in a corrupt government. Now, because people have lost total faith in the system, it doesn't mean that everybody out there with their own theory is right. It doesn't mean all the alternative media is right. It doesn't mean that I'm always right. We're all imperfect creatures. But we know the system has an authoritarian bent and a goal that it's pushing. Reuters report contradicts Obama's skeet shooting photo. Story said Obama played golf on August 4th, retired for dinner. And I got to say, Cass Sunstein at the White House said we'll do cognitive infiltration. We'll put out our own ridiculous conspiracy theories that are actually true but don't matter to just get everyone fighting over something. And this doesn't look like any shotgun blast I've ever seen. It looks like a smoke pop gun or something. And I'm not saying Obama wouldn't shoot a gun. Obama's all about guns. He's a gangster. He's a globalist. But just like they put out a fake birth certificate to get us all debating about it, and then it turns out, no, he really was probably born in Hawaii, but to a famous communist. And they did cover up where he came from and have sealed his records, and he had all these other different names, and his mother was into all this weird stuff, and that's why they say in his Harvard dissertation, and when he was the head of the law review, in just scores of publications, he said for 17 years he was born in Kenya. His wife said it. And all that is to tantalize us. They know that. They throw that out. They know that's a lie. There's so many lies you can't get to the truth. Because it's just lies on lies on lies on lies. During the break, we had Fox News on out there, and I saw Obama getting off Air Force One with Al Franken. And I saw the Air Force officer walk over and greet them, and everyone's sycophantically looking at them and groveling, and Obama's getting off on the narcissistic power trip. Al Franken is shaking with pleasure. I mean, I remember reading about how Dennis Kucinich sold out on Obamacare and a bunch of other stuff so that he could get a ride on Air Force One. I mean, are we peacocks or are we humans? Are we preening, sycophantic peacocks? I guess a lot of us are. And I looked at everyone there. They were just getting off on the power, getting off. And the Air Force officer was, Mr. President, a bunch of sycophants. And the Marines were getting off on it. And Franken, it was all a big joke. What, a big armored Cadillac and an Air Force One? So you can sell out humanity and feel powerful about yourselves? The stars are in the sky. The universe, incredible beauty. Your family, your children, everything good, literature, art. These politicians and people, they're not rock stars. You know, the reason people have admired literature and artists and actors and philosophers is because they do offer something. Beautiful music, beautiful plays, ideas. They express things that touch our soul and build us up. Shakespeare deserves to be admired. You may say they're evil or whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is it's beautiful. Things like Led Zeppelin, Beethoven, and different things touch different people. That, I would be giddy to be around somebody like Robert Plant, not because he's a celebrity, but because his voice has touched me so many times. Do you understand the difference? But then it's strange. When you admire someone, you then don't want to meet them because that would damage the spiritual relationship. You understand the difference of what I'm saying here? Like, I know where Robert Plant goes every week at a certain time here in Austin. I would never go there to try to meet him. And again, I'm not some big fan of Robert Plant. It's just I'm trying to think, who would I want to meet? I would want to meet somebody like Mother Teresa, who helped people. I would want to meet Ernest Borgnine, which I had a chance to do and was too busy and didn't do because I'm just not into it. Who? Ted Knight. I would love. There you go. I think I've said that. Ted Knight. You don't know who Ted Knight is? Oh, don't fire me, Lou. Look, I said I'd go to your calls. The point is that we're selling out for nothing. In fact, you guys actually taped it. Can you show when they get to the bottom of the gangplank, walking down the steps there off Air Force One, and just the the faces they're making. Again, if you're a radio listener, you obviously can't see this, but I'm showing it to TV viewers who are watching over at InfoWarsNews.com. And it just shows all of the satisfaction. And I know the looks on faces. Those aren't looks of, oh, it's an exciting day, or we just heard a funny joke, or we're going somewhere really cool. It's like, we're with the cool president who's jogging. We're all out here in the power structure. You know, I mean, the Secret Service are all into their get-ups, their black trench coats and their submachine guns under them, and say they don't like the fact that we have guns. You see, they want the exclusivity of having electricity, and you're not going to have it. They're going to turn your electricity off, but in the government district, they're going to have it. They're going to be allowed to have kids, you're not. They're going to go places and fly over you and fly over country while you cling your Bibles, because you're not going to have your guns, they say. You're bitter clingers. You don't like them. You're not in on the delusion. And it's so incredibly empty. It's so incredibly empty. That's why I can't bring myself, even though we're doing it, building big fancy sets and going and getting fitted for a bunch of fancy suits. But I've got to do it, because if it'll get people to listen to what I'm saying, so I can warn them, I will wear a waiter outfit. I will wear a high signet power. In fact, I was even thinking about it and then was amazed to see another talk show host do it, where we could build a fake Oval Office and sit there and broadcast from that, and then everyone would fall down and do whatever I said. But I don't want to manipulate through symbols. I want you to become aware of the manipulation and become really conscious, so that humanity can be risen up instead of driven down. But just watching the faces of the just cringing with, shaking with the power trip of, we're exclusive, we're here, we've made it, we've arrived. And I've noticed all these sycophants is the same looks in North Korea. And I've watched old film reels of other dictatorships and things going back 100 years. The people all look at the dictator or look at the puppet, because through that, they get their reflected power. They have people that then under them look at them with this weird, sycophantic strangeness. I can't stand it when people do it to me. And it's just like pathetic. I mean, I would have loved to have met Stanley Kubrick. I would have loved to have met Ernest Hemingway. Not that I even agree with his politics, but his writing touched my heart. His writing told things that I'd experienced in different ways, and I communed with his soul. The truth is, humans aren't pathetic, failed creatures. One side of us is, but the globalists want to put us artificially into that. We need to reach for the stars, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I got a bunch of news coming up. I said I'd go to your calls. Eric in Colorado, you're on the air. You want to comment on the Super Bowl? Go ahead. You dropped off. Okay, let's go to Darren in Florida, news reports and daughter's meds. Okay, go ahead.
Well, Alex, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I wanted to first talk about Chris Kyle, if I might.
The sniper, go ahead.
Okay, sir. Because of what's been going on and listening to you, and thanks, ditto, from what everybody says, it's a great job you're doing, I've begun to see a lot of things I hadn't really paid attention to before. And my son, who's in the ROTC, called me late Saturday night to tell me about Chris Kyle. I just couldn't believe it. So yesterday morning, before church, I got up and started looking at all the news, the local news, paying very good attention to the local news that I could. And I started noticing some inconsistencies right off. And I wanted to review them real quick with you, if I could, and your listeners. One, the initial reports were saying that a suspect was witnessed. They heard gunshots about between 3:30 and 4 o'clock, and then they saw someone driving off in a truck. But no one actually saw the suspect shoot him. The second news thing came later saying that a hunter came to the lodge at 5 o'clock and found him dead. Well, that's a pretty big inconsistency right there. Even more important, the initial reports on Fox 5 News, and I listed the news, but that's immaterial, stated that he was apprehended on a stretch of highway. I believe it was I-35 by Camp Wisdom Road, and they show the cameras there on the police cars in the dark with the lights flashing. However, just like Sandy Hook, They were not allowed to go up and view the person that they had in custody in the vehicle. They said they got him out of the truck, he's in the vehicle, but the news persons were not allowed to show the guy's face on the camera.
Listen, the whole thing's suspicious. What's the chance that Chris Kyle, who's definitely involved in psyops against the American people, but highly decorated, ends up getting killed? The whole thing is very, very, very suspicious. I'm going to come back and let you finish those points. Then we'll go to all the rest of the callers. We got Nick in Ireland who wants to talk about the hostage crisis. Stay with us. It looks like something out of Central Casting. You've got the most deadly sniper in U.S. history, self-billed, a guy who in his book, I'm not trying to run a dead guy down, but you know I've had my problems, and I've talked to Chris Kyle at length. They're being sued by Ventura. He admitted in his book that he had lied to people about other stuff, changed his story about Ventura, later said it was outside, nobody had basically seen it. He has no witnesses. Ventura has all these witnesses that it never happened. The lawsuit was going forward. And this guy was high up, and he was published by a division of News Corps. It was going to come out who put him up to this psyop against Ventura. And I talked to him at length on the Opie and Anthony show, and he sounded like a nice guy on the surface. And I don't know if he was set up. I don't know what happened. But the fact that he's killed and there's no witnesses, and I looked up this lodge, hundreds of people are there at any one time. Very suspicious that nobody saw it on a Saturday at 3:30 in the afternoon. Yeah, a lot of stuff. And then you find the classic PTSD Marine at his house, and I guess he'll come out and say he did it. I mean, we know the government got the underwear bomber on the plane. That came out in Congress. We know they ordered a stand down on 7/7. We know they ran drills of the exact same trains being bombed at the exact same time in exact same locations. So, again, they have a history of this. Yes, you're not wrong to say they could have staged it, because if they've staged other mass shootings, Operation Northwoods describes how to do it and how to even blame patsies. Just type in Operation Northwoods. You'll be at the Library of Congress, and you can read a, 12-page declassified memorandum green-lighted by L.L. Lemnitzer, Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff, to JFK's desk, who vetoed it. And then Bobby came back. This has since been declassified. It's even on Frontline on PBS. I'd read this. It was declassified about 15 years ago, but it came out a few years ago, mainstream news. You can look it up. Bobby Kennedy wanted to run a false flag against Nicaragua. Also, they talked about bombing the Honduran embassy and blaming it on the Honduran government. Don't believe me? Just type RFK wanted to run false flag against Honduras and Nicaragua. Look it up. So, yeah, they do this stuff. They're the people that do this. Out of thousands of graduate SEALs the last decade, thousands and thousands, it happens to this guy. Come on. And SEAL Team 6, the helicopter with 23 of them, which they never put. And it said they were suspicious. The mission was weird. They weren't told where they were going. They always basically are. There was no planning. This came out. They were told, get on the helicopter. And we were told, more evidence they were killed. They went to save Army Rangers pinned down. Turned out that wasn't true. See, when they have a PR thing like, yeah, Pat Tillman was charging up an Al-Qaeda hill, taking out Al-Qaeda. Turns out they murdered him, but Private Lynch was charged into the enemy territory at the convoy. Turned out she was cowering in fear. Rest of her unit fought the Iraqis. The unit started speaking out, so they killed 4 of them in 1 week. Car accidents, shot in the back of the head. One guy was barbecuing in Phoenix, and a guy pops up in a black, head-to-toe black uniform, double taps him in the head at about 30 yards away and disappears. And the police are like, oh, it's no big deal. You know, a guy just pops up in a ninja outfit, double taps you in the head. Oh, that's not a government sniper or anything. That's just exact training. Precision kill. And Private Lynch, she went public. I said, you better go public or you're dead. I don't know if she got the warning. She came out 3 days later after those 4 people got killed in her unit that were speaking out. She said, it's all fake. Pentagon told me to lie. Jerry Bruckheimer was producing it. Jerry Bruckheimer was scripting and telling him what to say and what to do. When they did the fake raid on the hospital, he was on a SAT connection, video SAT, telling the commander what to do on that raid, how to stage it, as she hid underneath the gurney. 3 days after the Iraqi Republican Guard had pulled out, 3 days after The doctors had come and said, hey, this area is open. Come, she's here. They sent people, found that it was true, pulled back. Jerry Bruckheimer directed the whole thing. That's on record. BBC even admitted it. Yeah, there's the BBC admitting, and they just meant as a footnote. Oh, by the way, it was directed by Jerry Bruckheimer. Directed by the director of Black Hawk Down. Now, you think things might be fake? I don't know, caller, go ahead and finish your point. We only got a minute. It's just, and that's only the tip of the iceberg. Go ahead.
The point was, Alex, it's just like you said, then the police found him at his home, and they had footage of the cops by homes all in a row with the police car. They were at the tape around it. So which was he? Was he on the highway or was he caught at his home? All these inconsistencies.
Well, you're always going to get inconsistencies, but when it follows a pattern, who this guy is, come on, folks. If we don't investigate that this was a setup, we're chumps. It might have been real. What, 1 chance out of 10? What's your gut tell you? What's your gut tell you on this? My gut tells me they whacked him. My gut tells me it's all staged. They're going to blame some mental patient and blame the Second Amendment, and they're now doing it. We'll be right back. All right, in a couple minutes, we're going to the author of The Fix Is In. We also carry the book at InfoWarsStore.com. He is the leading guy. He's done hundreds of interviews on TV and radio, you name it. The Fix Is In. He's gotten into the FBI files, interviewed FBI agents about the staging of sporting events. Some of them are totally staged. Others are manipulated here and there because, well, just the NFL, it's some ridiculous number. I forget all the numbers, something like $100 billion every couple of years. We're going to get all those actual numbers from him. What does he think about the power going off last night, right as Beyonce flashes the Illuminati symbol? And by the way, all these different hip-hop people and pop stars, because I've seen some documentaries breaking it down, they admit they're in the Illuminati. They're not really in the Illuminati, but they understand that they're associating it with the power structure. They're throwing it in your face. We're going to talk to him in just a moment. Never forget, this broadcast is something I'm risking my life to bring to you, not because I'm a hero, but because there's no future under authoritarianism. This is a scientific form of authoritarianism. This is a very nasty, anti-human program. And so I am 1,000% dedicated to beating these people. And when you go to InfoWarsStore.com and you sign up to get the magazine at cost in bulk, or when you get the new T-shirt that has Obama, it's a new Joker design, even more powerful than the limited edition we put out for about a year, and it's been gone for about a year and a half. Well, it's back. Obama the Tyrant. It says Tyrant with Infowars.com, and it is Obama as the Joker, and he looks demoniac. And it's designed to defame someone who deserves to be defamed. It is designed to take their idol. Yeah, he's a puppet, but he's their God. They tried to say he's their Christ. Well, we pull him down. And then we took our most popular T-shirt and put it on the back. Infowars.com with an AK-47. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed inside the gun with Come and Take It. The battle cry of the Texas Revolution. Let me tell you, I predict this will be the best seller ever. And it's going to be limited edition. I'm going to sell it in 2013, and then that's it. It is a limited edition Infowars.com T-shirt. You can also call toll-free to get the Pro Pure water filters with a 10% discount with promo code WATER. Can't forget that. And you can call 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. Not only do we have the best videos, the best deals, check it out for yourself. We sell things I believe in. I turn down sponsors literally every week. I promote what I believe in, what I use. And when you support us at InfoWarsHealth.com, shopping with the Patriots, shopping with the good guys, the guys wearing the white hats, when you go to InfoWarsHealth.com to get the incredible vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients, the hundreds of great products there, the best out there, that supports our news organization, InfoWarsHealth.com. When you call and buy the books, the videos, you name it, that supports the news operation, the whole system we're building. So again, InfoWarsHealth.com, InfoWarsStore.com for the books, the videos, the ball caps, the apparel, the Patriot apparel. Great to meet like-minded people, to be a walking bumper sticker for the truth. We're going 110% here. We need your support, and you are giving it to us. Spread the word about the broadcast. When you're listening on AM and FM stations, Go on street corners and hand out cards that you print up or printouts saying tune into that local station and why they should do it. Get aggressive, ladies and gentlemen. Get a fighting spirit. Think that we can win. Realize we can win. And then get out there and we're going to take down the globalists. It's understanding that we don't have a choice. And it's exhilarating to stand up against tyranny. Don't let it crush you down. Don't make it let you feel like you don't have any power. You've got incredible power. That's why they're scared of you. And 99% of the people that serve evil are compartmentalized and don't even know it. Sometimes it's easier to wake up somebody who actually works on the inside than the outside because they know it's true. Police are the easiest to wake up because they listen and they know, man, this guy knows what he's talking about. How does he know all this? This is what I've done for 17 years. I know what you're going to be told before you get told it. I know all the training, the programs, the brainwashing, all of it. Okay? Military people. This show is incredibly popular with the military, unbelievably so. It blows me away. Anytime I walk into a restaurant and there's troops, almost every time they come over and are listeners. And they tell me how their whole unit listens and the whole base listens and how I'm banned and how they tell them don't listen so everybody starts listening. That's been going on for like 15 years. I'm going to go to our guests and then your calls. I'm going to go to Brendan and Donna and Eric and Derek. We're going to get to all of you. Our guest is just on for 10 minutes with us. The point is that we've got a chance to really hurt the globalist. And by the grace of God and your prayers, I'm still alive. And because there's a lot of good people in the system as well who've been compartmentalized, we've got to get those compartmentalization membranes, those bulkheads out of there. So people can see for miles and miles, not just what's right in front of them, what's being shoved in front of them. You got blinders on and they just shove under the tiny little blinder what you're allowed to see. We need to get people seeing all around them. We need to believe in humanity again, God's creations. We need to know God made us in his image to be leaders and builders, not to be slaves of the devil in this system. All right, now that said, we're going to go to our guest. I interviewed him a few months ago, and people have really asked us to have him back, so he is back. The fix is in, the showbiz manipulation of the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, and NASCAR, and more. And when I asked him what's the most corrupt, is it boxing? He said, no, not really. It's probably basketball. And again, it is getting more and more corrupt because it is the new religion, and people say, don't touch my religion. It is just unbelievable, and we saw the power go off last night, and you know they're saying this moment of electrifying football comedy brought to you by the greenest game in Super Bowl history, and they're getting used to it. Well, green energy goes off, but it's for the earth, and they have Global Earth Day and Earth Hour and all these other days, turn your power off. They've had other sporting events where they turn it off on purpose. Enron got caught turning power off to condition people that there's not enough power, so everyone will accept higher power prices all over the country. Power prices are going up, and all over the world, they precipitate power prices going up by turning the power off on purpose to create the perception of scarcity. It is a mass hoax, and I believe, from knowing what I know, and I covered it last hour, that this was probably staged. I don't know Brian Tuohy's take on this, but we're going to get his take. He's the author of The Fix Is In, the Showbiz Manipulators of Sports, recognized as America's leading expert on game fixing in sports. He's been interviewed by everything. XM, ESPN, you name it, this show, Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, you name it. And he joins us. And, of course, sports is used to have little kids from Sandy Hook to demonize the Second Amendment and exploit them, and to have ads running against the Second Amendment. It's like the Running Man in the Stephen King novel, The Running Man, that got turned into a movie, the short story. That's what it is. Sports has always been the heart of the Nazi regime, the heart of the Soviet regime, the heart of the Roman regime, the heart of societies manipulating people. It's the big grand pageant so the globalists, the controllers, can inject their propaganda. I'm not even saying sport. If you're in sports, they're great. I think sports are the best thing for children. I think they're one of the few wholesome things left. But at the top, it's rotten. At the top, it's disgusting. At the top, it's Lance Armstrong. It's a dirty joke. Well, the Bible says wickedness is in high places. So the book, The Fix Is In, available, discounted at InfoWarsShop.com. Support the author, support us, get the truth out. He joins us now. What was your take overall first on the Super Bowl and then the blackout? Did you see any any signs there? You know, one team's winning and then the blackout happens and then the momentum changes. To me, that's not where the real fixes would be, but you're the expert. Brian, good to have you.
It's good to be on again, Alex. Good to hear from you. With the Super Bowl, before we get into that quick, I don't know, did you happen to see the sports page of the New York Times today at all?
No, I didn't.
Okay. There's a big thing in soccer, which is the world's game, literally the world's game, most popular game in the world. They had a big announcement regarding over probably 600 different soccer matches that have been fixed worldwide recently. And they think it's all pinpointed perhaps to one guy in Singapore. And, I mean, these are literally soccer matches at every level all the way up to the World Cup, which is even bigger than the Super Bowl. And so I hear from a lot of people who say, well, you know, you can't fix a game. Well, here's a literal proof that games have been fixed literally worldwide, literally in the biggest sport and the biggest stage out there, and yet people think, you know, nobody can mess with the Super Bowl. And I just find that absurd because you look at what happened last night and you've seen that the referees made calls that should have not been made. They're calls that they overlooked that should have been made. And then you had this whole blackout, which, you know, literally has everybody in the country talking about the Super Bowl, whether you want to or not.
And we did find that article. We'll put it back up on screen for TV viewers over at InfoWarsNews.com. Investigation finds suspected fixing in 680 soccer matches. And scanning over that while you were talking, I noticed that it's exactly what you wrote in your book, how they're doing it, because you've read the FBI files.
Well, exactly. I mean, I know that games in the NFL have been fixed. I know games in the NBA have been fixed in Major League Baseball, and I know that they're still investigating potential fixed games today. The problem is you don't hear about it because they don't want you to hear about it because they don't want you to think that something like this could be corrupt because they want to distract you and they want to entertain you, and they don't want you to think about this sort of corruption within the game. But it's true that it has to be there. I mean, the NFL says we've never had a game fixed by anyone ever. And I've talked to numerous guys in sports books on both sides of the, both sides of the window, guys who book the bets, guys who are making the bets, and they'll say to a man that that's absurd, that of course games have been fixed, but you can't prove these things because you can't find the proof. You can't find the evidence because there's no concrete evidence of this sort of behavior.
So this is a big deal.
Something last night, and you see that game, it's very likely that last night's game was manipulated to keep it interesting to the very end, to literally the last play of the game, because it made CBS happy, that made the advertisers happy, and it made the NFL happy.
Go over the numbers on sports betting just in the United States.
Well, sports betting, there's been no good estimate because it's all illegal. I mean, literally only perhaps as much as 1% of the amount of money gambled on sporting events in the United States is done legally in Las Vegas and Nevada. Otherwise, they estimate anywhere from $80 to $380 billion is wagered illegally on this country on sporting events each year. Which, even if you take the low estimate, the $80 billion, that's nearly 4 times as much money as the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, and the National Hockey League make combined.
It's amazing numbers we're talking about here. Did you see any signs overtly of manipulation last night? I mean, I guess you're saying you did. Break down how they do that.
Well, the main thing, the legal way, and it's the scary part is it is legal for, like, if the NFL wanted to fix its own game, if they wanted to fix the Super Bowl last night or manipulate it, they can do so legally because there's no law that prevents them from doing that. And the easiest way to do it would be through the referees. Now, last night they had this referee named Bolger, who was admittedly probably one of the middle ranked of their own officiating crew, and yet he wound up officiating the biggest game of the year, which is not the way the NFL is supposed to do it, but a lot of people think because he was African-American that he got put on this major stage just because of that. And now you have this guy on this big stage, and then you see clearly, like especially late in the game, calls that should have been made, penalties that should have been called on the Ravens that weren't called, that weren't assessed. And you had guys like Phil Simms on CBS broadcast at first saying, oh, that was a good no call. And then as the game progressed, he said, well, maybe they should have made that call, but I guess they're just letting them play out there. Well, apparently, if you have a rule book in the NFL, it doesn't always apply. You can apply the rules when you want to.
And obviously, he's been told to do this if it is fixed, and so he's not going to get in trouble. And that's why you see these obvious calls that are meant to keep the game closer longer.
Exactly. And and that benefits everybody involved. Everybody is making more money because of that, because when's the last time we had a Super Bowl that wasn't really interesting? That was a blowout. It's been over a decade since that happened. And I don't believe in coincidence when billions of dollars are at stake.
And notice they say that this was the highest rated and made the most money ever.
Well, and the scary part is, I mean, how many people voted in the last presidential election? Like 126 million, I think, give or take. And that's probably pretty much the same amount of people in the United States who watched a Super Bowl last night. Doesn't that say something about our country? in not necessarily the best of ways, that we're more interested in a football game than perhaps who's in control of our government?
It is the modern bread and circus, the opiate of the masses. Now, what about the power outage? That's like the Clue game, or everybody's at the castle, and the lights go off, and somebody's got a steak knife stuck in their chest, and then the rest of the movie, you're trying to find out who did it. And then, oh, it's green energy. We've got to get used to the power going off. I've seen them turn the power off for a few minutes to show that energy is bad at soccer games in Europe and things. I think it was staged. I think they did this on purpose to keep the game going, to make everybody heighten their awareness, to have something different go on. What do you think?
I agree with you. I don't think it was necessarily a legitimate event, that it was really truly just somebody screwed up somewhere. I mean, I've heard people say that the NFL did it on purpose, like you say, to make it more interesting to get people talking about the game. I've heard people say that City of New Orleans did it basically as revenge against the NFL because of the whole Bountygate scandal within the NFL that really punished the New Orleans Saints. I've heard a lot of different things, and nobody. It's amazing that nobody, even from the City of New Orleans, from the power company there, has said publicly what happened.
Well,
you would think by now they would have been pretty easy to figure it out because they got the lights back on within 30 minutes. So it couldn't have been that big of a deal.
Well, here's the issue. Here's the issue. They turn the lights on all the time. They know what they're doing, and it just shows the arrogance of the system that things like this happen. But, hey, people don't just believe now the official story they're told anymore, that it was just a snafu. That shows the power structure is losing all its credibility. Where do you see this going for sports? Just bigger and bigger, and maybe, the games get even more tight and it gets more obvious, but people don't care because the ticket says it's only entertainment.
Well, that's the main thing. It is only entertainment. It is just show business. But I think at a certain point in time, these things, at least the United States, have to reach a saturation level where it can't get much bigger unless they put on more and more of a production where it becomes more than sport, which is fine, where it becomes, like you say, show business, where it's not fine, and where people start seeing through it. I mean, you can only watch so much reality TV before you realize, well, this isn't all real. They're staging some of this. They're making these things occur because they have to keep the show interesting. Well, that's exactly what I think they do with sports, that they stage certain things, they promote certain teams, they promote certain players, and make sure those teams and players succeed because they think it makes it a better production. It makes people tune in.
Well, they're also blurring the lines between reality and fiction, where the Zero Dark 30, they have the White House and the Senate come out and say, hardly any of this is accurate, this is all wrong, but it's the original fake story the White House put out, but then they put a disclaimer, oh, this is inaccurate, but people go, and I've sat there in restaurants repeatedly, because I've gone to a restaurant twice right by a movie theater, and I heard people talk about, oh, it's a true story, it's so incredible, we just saw Zero Dark 30, and the thing is literally a work of fiction.
Yeah, and that's why I think, your sporting events are going the same way.
Do one more segment with us. I want to ask what else is on the radar screen and what this big soccer report, absolutely validating what you've been saying, means to this giant hoax that is modern professional sports. Then I promise, when we start the next hour, callers, I'm going to you straight up. I got to be honest with you. I only talked to Chris Kyle once for about 45 minutes or so, I guess. I liked him. I mean, he came off like a real guy. I guess he's from Dallas like I am, or outside Dallas like I am. But I know Jesse Ventura never talks about wanting troops to die. And I've actually seen him tear up before all this happened, talking and driving in my car, talking about troops being killed, because he really loves the military. All these guys do. And that's Ventura first said, and I think his gut was right. He goes, do you think they had a double as a setup to set him up? That's the first thing Jesse Ventura said last year when I called him, and he had to go into town to send an email to get on the phone with me. And he's like, Alex, and he had his wife there, and he had it on speaker, I guess, in a hotel room or whatever. He's like, Alex, you're joking. This isn't real. Come on. And so I know Ventura didn't do this, and I just don't know what they did to Chris Kyle. But I think they killed him. I mean, I was here reading this new article that just went up at Infowars.com. Just went up. Murdered Navy SEAL was Obama gun control foe. And I'd actually seen this video this weekend where he was working and going to do a national campaign to get armed teachers. And they just do not want somebody out there who's got that type of credibility. Just like Pat Tillman was going to come home and badmouth the opium and stuff, and they killed him. Murdered Navy SEAL Chris Kyle, gunned down at point-blank range in Texas this past weekend, was emerging as a prominent gun control critic, working to place armed guards in schools in the aftermath of the Sandy Hook massacre. Very important article by Paul Watson. And it's not just that he's dead. I've said bad things about him, like, he talks about lying in his book, but he talks about lying for operations or whatever. It's not good to talk ill of the dead, especially if you don't know they were a bad person. I just am really, really upset right now. By the way, a lot of prominent pro-gun people are being killed, and if this continues, we know there's a purge. And ATF is visiting gun owners that buy just one gun, two guns, buy ammo. They're harassing people. Homeland Security says we're the new terrorist, and man, this is bad. This is bad. They say returning vets are the #1 enemy, and Obama's got an NDAA. We're going to come back in the next hour and go directly to Brenda and others that are holding. The fix is in. Brian, we only got about 3 minutes. How big is this soccer situation where it's now coming out, okay, Lance Armstrong did dope, okay, yeah, the soccer games are fixed. This is a big deal. If this ever starts coming out, will it hurt things, or will it just be like going to Disney World to watch a football game? You know it's fake, but that Sky Mountain or whatever still is pretty fun.
I think you look at professional wrestling and you can see that, where people don't necessarily care that it's fake, but it's still a good entertainment. It's still, good show of physical prowess on these people's part. But you look at soccer, like I say, the thing that worries me, the thing that scares me, and should scare a lot of sports fans of this country, is if you can look around the world and you can see as many games have been fixed, apparently in soccer, I think 680 they mentioned in that article alone, and that's not covering everything. That's just one investigation. And you look at tennis has been fixed, you look at cricket that's been fixed, rugby games have been fixed, but then you look here in the United States, and supposedly everything's fine. Nothing, no football, no baseball, no basketball, no hockey. Well,
we're a free country. Come on, nothing. The government, private corporations. J. Edgar Hoover said the mafia was a conspiracy theory in 1952.
Well, exactly, and that's the part that should be frightening sports fans, because you can't look at these games and say they can't be fixed. Not when there's that much money being illegally gambled out there. That money has the power to corrupt, because it's all going to organized crime. They're the ones who run these illegal bookmakers.
And Zbigniew Brzezinski,
these guys don't have the power is crazy.
And Zbigniew Brzezinski's written 3 books admitting that the globalists run organized crime. Well, of course they do. Of course they do. Wow. All right. Thank you for joining us. I know it's on your lunch break. Brian Tuohy, The Fix is in. Available at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. We're going to have you back for a full hour soon, in-depth on the nightly news. Brian, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
You bet. Next hour, straight ahead. We did a special report for the nightly news on Friday titled Taylor Swift's Dirty Little Secret. The 8-minute video has since begun to go viral. The Raw story actually did a fair report on aspartame, admitting that studies show it's bad for you. Alex Jones, Taylor Swift loves genetically modified bacteria poop. Gotta love that headline. And people say, well, beer, all that, that's yeast. Well, that's plants putting it off, not E. coli bacteria that are fed different substances that then poop it out. I hate to talk about poop all day, but anything to keep people from getting big fat brain tumors from aspartame. Let's go to Brenda in Wisconsin. Thanks for holding. You're on the air. Welcome. Brendan.
Hi, Brendan, actually.
Brendan.
Alex, thanks. I stopped watching grown adults chase balls around on fields years ago when I became much more of an InfoWars listener and fan, and I thank you for that. But I did tune in last night with my girlfriend who knows that many of the things that InfoWarriors talk about are true, but doesn't always want to deal with the thought process. So I said, hey, look, we got to watch the halftime show. I know it's going to be schlocky, but I really want to see, based off of last year's show, how many overt Illuminati signs there would be. And so it's going on, as it progressed, not many light show pyramids and eyeballs and stuff. But then you see all these people in the crowd sticking their hands up. They're the tallest people in the crowd, I'm sure, planted there, and they're doing their pyramid, hand signs. I said, and I told her about that ahead of time, and she said, no, you're just making that up.
It's funny you say that because, again, I dropped by a party for about an hour last night at a restaurant that shut down for the Super Bowl, and so I went to a crew party that I was invited to over at that restaurant, nice restaurant. The point is, put in a plug for Steiner Steakhouse, and I'm over there with Shane Steiner, and I'm sitting there, and one of the only times I was watching, I looked up, and I see the crowd, them showing people doing Illuminati signs, and my critics will now take that as a still and say I'm doing that. But sure enough, you just called in about it, and I'm so conditioned. I got in today, and I'm not even telling my crew, hey, go get the halftime show people this. That's how they get you. It's like now it's an open secret. They had weirdos standing up everywhere, and then Beyonce, show a document cam shot of this if you can. She does the Illuminati symbol. Tell folks what you saw, because I barely watched and caught some of that. And I'm like, really? Did I just see that? Tell folks what you saw.
And I have more points on that as well, because,
well, tell me what you saw. Tell me what you saw.
I definitely saw the tallest people in the crowd with gold. You'll see this year the whole theme is gold and black. Every award show, everything going on. The gold bracelets, doing clear pyramid hand signs right in the camera shot. The tallest people there, and those hands are the ones that are lit up by the lights. Not only that, she said, well, I want to see Downton Abbey if the power's out. And I said, it doesn't matter. Turn back to the Super Bowl after 33 minutes.
Oh, my gosh, it was a ritual. They turned the light off. And, of course, it always has multiple uses. So it's coming too fast now. And then they're the 1,000 points of light. That's the highest Illuminati type operation. Skull and Bones. George Bush Sr. talks about it. And so they have 1,000 people stand up and do the Illuminati sign when the light's off, saying, we're going to bring the light back.
And the play-by-play guy, at 27 minutes, if anyone who's TiVo'd this, I haven't gone back to it, one of the guys says, he trips himself up, and he says, we're now in the 27th minute of power outage, and blah, blah. And my girlfriend said, well, can I flip to Downton Abbey? I said, sure, give 5 more minutes. We got to go back to it. That's when it'll be back on. And she thinks that I'm full of baloney. And sure enough, that's what happened. But at the 27th minute when I checked, the guy trips himself up, and he starts to say, we're now 27 minutes into it, and then he starts to say 30, blah, 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 and he cuts himself off.
Stay there. Oh, my gosh. Well, they believe they get power off these. The Olympics is a ritual. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a war on for your mind. Hitler admitted that the modern Olympics that Germany first launched in the 30s, Hitler drew the rings together. That was going to be the original Nazi symbol, was the rings, the colored rings. And they admitted that that was a ritual of Nordic power. Now, always going back to the Greeks, the Romans, but the Aztecs, sports was highly ritualized and religious. The Druids had games and the loser was killed. With the Aztecs, a lot of times the winners got killed in the ball-playing court. I visited at Chichen Itza. Amazing to see the different images of the winners' faces carved in the stone, the skulls with flesh rotting off their faces, carved in the stone. Incredibly powerful. In fact, I'll Google that and show some of the TV viewers. Or just type in Chichen Itzan skulls. Ball-playing court skulls. But side issue, see, when I get up here and say it's Illuminati, here is Yahoo Sports. Did Beyonce flash an Illuminati sign? What did the Superdome power go out? Your Super Bowl mystery solved, and they make fun of anybody that questions it. Imagine last year, you've got Madonna on giant gold and black pyramids doing all sorts of Illuminati hand signs with all sorts of demonic stuff everywhere, all highly Babylon mystery religion, Egyptian mystery religion. That's where the Illuminati comes from. In your face. She is the goddess. In fact, she's the goddess, if you put it into Greek, eulogia, that they worship at Skull and Bones. And Skull and Bones has been broken into before. That's been confirmed. We got their internal documents via Anthony Sutton, who got them from Charlotte Iserby. But the point is that, see, oh, yeah, there's the ball-playing court, people that thought I was kidding, if you're watching on TV. Imagine the magnitude of this, that at 33 minutes in, right after she's done doing an Illuminati high sign, right after they're done doing that, do the exact sign she did, it was that. Okay? Again, if you're a radio listener, it's was the top story on Yahoo. They've pulled it. But we're going to do a special report on this tonight. And they throw all this in your face, and guess what the Illuminati high holy number is? It's 33. Because in the sun rooms, in the Egyptian temples where they worship the sun, 33.3 dials in to the sun calculations of 666. Will you guys print me my article on that we did? We did an article. Whose article is that? And I'll plug the source of it, because that was some key intel you had there. We were just showing viewers all the Illuminati signs that Madonna did. Illuminati Super Bowl halftime show symbolism explained, Madonna. Go ahead and scroll down. Yeah, we had a video report last year on this. We need to get that, get it together with the crew, and have it out tonight. Print me that, please. See, I can't work all the time. I feel guilty even when I take off for 10 minutes to play with my children. And last night, I'm driving home at about 7, and my buddy calls me and goes, hey, we're having a private party over here at the restaurant. Why don't you come over and, have a beer or something and barbecue? So I pull in there. I go in. Halftime goes on a little later, and I'm looking up, and there's a power outage. And I look up, and I see people standing up doing Illuminati signs. And I just looked down, and I just said, man, this world's getting too weird. How it's all just out in the open. And then they say, oh, you didn't see anything. See, it's out in the open, but it's meant to hit the subconscious public who's unawake. When we're awake and we go, hey, look, Illuminati ritual. It goes dark for 33 minutes. We looked it up. 33 minutes, 55 seconds. Just shy of 34 minutes. And she does Baphomet, squatting, all of this. God help us. God help us. God help us. I mean, they are doing giant Babylonian, satanic, Egyptian rituals in front of everyone. And it is just so completely out of control that we've come down to this. And see, the caller calls in. If you didn't hear him, I'm going to go back to him to recap everything he said, then I'll go to others. Because we got to hurry to get the rest of the callers before Lord Monckton pops in. And I wasn't even going to cover this. I came in this morning, okay, they did the Illuminati symbols. They tell all the hip-hop people do that to sell it as cool. Just like they told, Hulk Hogan have a group called the New World Order right after Bush started talking about it, Bush Sr. Then people go, oh, you're talking about the New World Order. They've got to acclimate you that it's non-threatening and a joke. And then Yahoo's like, people claim there's something called the Illuminati. It's a historical fact. It's just one branch of a Luciferian order who publicly, it's mainline history, founded Skull and Bones. The Illuminati founded Skull and Bones in 1832. It's chapter 322, which means the uncompleted because it's below the 33rd, 32 degree. And you go, well, that's Masonic. Yes, the General Masons have not been satanic themselves, but an ancient construction guild with hidden knowledge. But it predates Judaism and Christianity, so it is occultic. It was Christianized. You didn't just get into a university and learn mathematics. That was valuable. So it got guarded by an intelligence agency. You call it a secret society. Because if you just indict Masons, you drive them away from the truth. Being honest about the fact that there's a war inside of the system with the Illuminati trying to take it over. This is so disgusting. See, the most evil people know that really good, truly enlightened, real illuminated people, that just means awoken by God's light, are going to stand up for human liberty and try to build it up. So the evil comes in and says, oh, we're good too. We want to empower humanity. Join our order. It's the real. It's above the 33rd degree, you see. And they're just doing giant rituals, just like David Icke said. I mean, they do these giant rituals. They admit they're rituals at the big events out there like the Olympics. And now they have a 33-minute darkness with weirdos standing up in the crowd doing the hand sign, magnifying with her up on the stage who did the hand sign, during the darkness, during the 33 minutes. I mean, this was a stinking ritual, and the media is going to pick this up and call me crazy. Because they know. They don't want you to know. They want to initiate your subconscious so you're in their cult, but never consciously knew. They don't want you to have free will. America is under a dark spell. We are under witchcraft, folks. This is real. They've proven it. It's scientific. The ancients just called it witchcraft. We've been mesmerized, hypnotized, put into this. And it's right there. They're on top, big pyramids, flashing Illuminati signs with the lights going out. And I'm the conspiracy theorist. There it is. There it is. What is this, like 5 Super Bowls in a row they've done this? Janet Jackson's breast pops out. Oh, she goes, oops, and there's a sun sign. And all the rest of this garbage, they've got to do it. They want your attention. They are doing rituals because they believe they're affecting you. And whether you believe in God or not, believe in the spiritual world. They teach you it's smart to not believe in the spiritual world because you can't see it. This domain, this 5 senses, third dimension, is only one. It's been proven mathematically what all the ancients said. There are all these other layers above us, all this full spectrum. It's there. And whether it's real or not, whether there's things inhabiting that or not, intelligences, the elites believe it's giving them power. They believe they are in contact with entities across the void. They believe they've got power from it. So they are in power, whether they believe they got the power from it and just had confidence from it, or whether they really are getting the power from it. You cannot debate the fact they are worshiping devilish entities. And look at what the elite does. Look at how they're trying to wreck the family, how they're trying to wreck liberty, how they're trying to bring in tyranny, how they're doing all of this. They're doing all of this in your face. And see, I'm so sick of it. And I was watching this when I was calm last night. I was put under a little bit of a trance. I wasn't even going to come in and cover it until the caller called in and shifted me back into being aware. You see how dangerous it is to watch stuff like that? Wow, what an epiphany I just had. Brendan in Wisconsin. You only got about a minute and a half. Recap your points and then finish the other ones.
Okay, I'm going to recap that. Yeah, you see the Illuminati hand signs, the triangles from the crowd. It's of the people, right? And the spotlights are only hitting those really tall hands right in the front. That's one point. 33 minutes. The NFL or CBS was saying 34 minutes. No. I looked it up this morning. It was 33 minutes. USA Today will be your
33:55. No, we timed it. Now, specifically, because we're going to go pull it up. I saw it. When were they holding the hands up in the Illuminati ritual? Not her. When were the plants doing it? What time was that?
That was right during the halftime show, which I really can't stand to watch. Nor could I last year, but you have awakened me and other people have awakened me. So now I force myself to watch that garbage. There are a few other key points that the power went out with 1322 on the clock. I don't know if that's significant.
322. No, also, it's all significant. It's all staged.
And I have a couple more points if you have time.
Go start making them.
Okay, and also psyops always occur every time there's focused attention around the world. And I talked to Professor Griff in my establishment. I invited him to town, and he told me all about the Illuminati in the music business.
Yeah, no, I want to get Professor Griff on, and he plugs my films, but we need to know how to get in contact with him. Hold on. Stay there. And I won't ever take you back. And if you believe that, well, you believe Al Gore invented the Internet. And you'll believe that that wasn't an Illuminati ritual at the Super Bowl. And you'll believe that Obama was really out shooting shotguns. Or they didn't put out a fake Photoshop on purpose to make you debate whether it's a real Photoshop or not. These people are out of control. I can't believe how crazy this world's actually gotten. Let's talk to Derek in Texas. Derek, you're on the air. Welcome.
Alex, thank you. It's an honor to speak to you. 13-year listener, first-time caller.
God bless.
I'm calling to find out your opinion about Piers Morgan coming here to Tactical in Katy, Texas. He's coming here to report tonight, apparently, about he's going to be shooting a gun there. And I heard that the owner of the Tactical Firearms was once supported an ammunition ban.
Say that again?
The owner of Tactical Firearms...
No, start over at the beginning. Usually they're not telling me stuff, and it's not their fault. They're supposed to talk to me. They were telling me Lord Monckton was there, and I missed the first part of what you said. Start over.
Oh, I'm sorry. Piers Morgan is supposed to be reporting at Tactical Firearms in Katy, Texas tonight. He's supposed to be shooting a gun, talking about background checks, mental health, and I think it's interesting because the owner of Tactical Firearms has once been on the radio supporting an ammunition ban.
I didn't know that Slime Morgan was going to be here because, again, he doesn't have a big audience. Sometimes the stuff on his show gets played on other shows, so it only has a big audience when what he does is a derivative, and then he gets a tiny amount of actual viewers to his show from that. He has biggest shows like 500,000 when I was on, like 1,800,000 the next day, and then it went down from there. But Katy, Texas, he's going to be there himself shooting.
So that's the rumor had it that he was coming to a gun shop in Texas, and then he proved it on his Twitter account 2 days ago. He is coming to Tactical Firearms, and it's happening right down the street from me. I was just curious if anybody from your crew is going to be there reporting, or if I should go try to get some photos or what. I haven't gotten any response from Tactical Firearms themselves. I don't really know the full details, but I was shocked to hear it, and I just hope someone in your crew's covering it.
Well, Katie's pretty close to Texas. No, he's saying the guy put a Twitter out. He's saying go to Piers Morgan's Twitter, guys. That's how you confirm it. So Piers Morgan, you're saying put it out on Twitter. Yes, Piers Morgan is coming to Houston. Let's put that back up. On screen for viewers. Tactical Firearms is very, very proud of that. And he's going to a facility where they support restricting our Second Amendment. Isn't that just classic?
Yeah. Have you been aware of that owner, being supportive of all this gun control legislation and whatnot? And then
no, I wasn't aware of that, but you know what they're going to do. They're going to come down here and go, I'm here in the heart of the crazy Texans, but even these Texans want to turn their guns in. I don't dislike Texans. Sure, I'm a redcoat. Why, your ancestors trounced the filthy king I worship. I mean, just unbelievable.
I felt exactly the same way when I woke up. I was furious. I couldn't believe that it was
listen,
true.
Everybody should go. It's a private facility, so it's private property. But everybody should go and be part of it and try to be interviewed by CNN. And I think people ought to be across the street from it. It's a free country, bullhorning Piers Morgan and protesting his butt. I don't know if I've got time to get in the car and get down there. I mean, how far away is Katy from Austin?
It's only about an hour and 45 minutes on a good drive from you. I was just shocked.
Why are they saying Houston? CNN doesn't even know. When I heard Katy and then the news said Houston, I'm like, Katy's not Houston.
Well, exactly. I actually live right where it's going to be in Katy. It's zoned in Houston. Like, we're technically Houston, but I have to put Katy in all my addresses. So it's in Harris County.
Oh, that's why it seems like it's closer to Austin. It's out west of there towards Austin, and Houston's so huge that once you're outside there. Wow, that's about 2 hours away, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot closer to you than downtown Houston.
I guess technically they could then say Houston because Houston's so mega giant. Punch it back up, folks. Tactical Firearms. Everybody needs to get over there and get in his face. You know, and he likes to spin it like it's an anti-British thing that we're saying go home. They don't want him over there. The British folks are great people. In fact, we got one of them coming up on the other side of this break, Lord Monckton. It's the fact that this is a guy who would have been fighting against our basic rights that came out of the Magna Carta and common law. We'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no rest for people that want to fight tyranny. I can't help it. Piers Morgan is coming to Texas. He's going to Katy, Texas. That's west of Houston. It'll take me about 2 hours to go there. When this radio show ends, you know, I've got a chiropractor appointment. My shoulder, I got to reschedule that. Anyways, well, I've never even been to a chiropractor, but my shoulder's real tight, and I've been trying to lift weights again. Yeah, I'm going. That's it. I'm going to Katy, Texas, because he's coming into our territory. Piers Morgan pushing the disarmament of the American people. And I guess they found some gun shop. Let's punch him back up for TV viewers. That is actually anti-gun and a shooting range. I guess because it's there to train police or something and thinks nobody else should have guns. I'll have to get all that straight and in a row there. Remember, guys, you had it pulled up earlier? You had it pulled up. The Tactical Response is the name of the group. You had it side up on screen. Or whoever did, let's get them and get it up there, because I want to give people before the show ends the data points of where they can find that and get that. Yeah, there it is. Piers Morgan is coming to Houston. Tactical Firearms, according to Piers Morgan's account, he will be hosting his show from a Texas gun store and will be shooting. That should be funny, by the way. I have yet to confirm, but the gun store he is referring to is none other than Tactical Firearms in Katy. Let's call them. Weren't you guys saying you were on their website and they said so? Let's 100% confirm that before the show ends. Okay, let's call them. Let's get on that right now. Just call the whole crew in here. Just call my reporters, call everybody in, because I've got to have this done before the show ends, or I'm going to have to go into a 4th hour of overdrive, and I don't want to keep Lord Monckton waiting. I want to just make a decision, get this done, or I can go to rebroadcast and go do it. I mean, just call them, find out. I want to 100% nail this down before I call people to go protesting. Okay, it has to happen. I'm going to give the floor to Lord Christopher Monckton, joining us from Australia. It's like 6 in the morning, I guess, there. I appreciate him joining us. He is the #1 guy out there fighting the global tyrants and their carbon taxes. And he's written an article for WorldNet Daily. It's also up on Science and Public Policy. Christopher Monckton of Brenchley joins us, and he is over in Australia to see what Agenda 21 is really like. Agenda 21, fascism's new face. They're a few years ahead of us in Australia under the climate tyranny, and he joins us to break it down. Lord Monckton, thank you for coming on with us.
Alex, it's a real pleasure to be with you, and congratulations on your wonderful interview with Piers Morgan on gun control. I wonder how many tens of millions have seen it now.
It is tens of millions airing on every TV station out there, and also tens of millions online. But you know, I actually was under the weather that day and blew up at him. But I'm glad I did, because it got people out of their coma. We need to get aggressive with these people. And he tried to spin it that I'm being anti-UK. I'm actually pro-UK and England. I want you to be a sovereign country, not under EU domination. My ancestors come from Wales and England and Scotland and Ireland. Piers Morgan's tried to spin it, though, and so is the British press, that I'm being anti-British. I'm anti-being disarmed. It's not British to have your weapons taken. In fact, you guys always had the right to keep bear arms until it was taken by the collectivists. You want to briefly speak to that?
Well, certainly. I mean, we had a shooting incident like the one that has provoked the latest round of demands for gun control in the US. This was at Dunblane in Scotland, and unfortunately it happened during a socialist government. And of course, whenever the socialists get the chance to tighten up on legislation, they will. And so there was a knee-jerk reaction in Parliament, and a law was passed to take away our handguns, which were almost entirely held in private collections and were shot privately on ranges under supervision. It was all very well controlled, as you can imagine, in the UK. And anyway, all of that was swept away. But the result was the interesting thing. Crime involving handguns went up by 40% the moment they took our handguns away. Because once you drive the ownership of guns underground, then all you do is you criminalize it, and that increases the use of guns in crime. It does not reduce it.
It certainly does. Now, you talk about the new face of fascism, Agenda 21. People are starting to wake up to it, but you've traveled to Australia that's been captured by this, even though the people are awake and don't like it. In polls I've seen, it doesn't matter what government they put in, it just continues. Break down how draconian it is in a country, what, 4 or 5 years ahead of other nations?
Well, that's right. See, the European dictatorship and the dictatorship of Julia Gillard, the communist from Wales who runs Australia at the moment, and is at the moment herself facing an extremely serious criminal investigation, which is getting very, very close to her. And that's one of the reasons why she's announced the election that they're about to have, and she's announced it 7 months before it's going to be held. The other reason why she's announced an earlier election, incidentally, is that Kevin Rudd, the man whom she displaced with an internal coup in the Labour Party, it's the kind of thing that communists do to each other all the time, she had heard that next month he was going to mount a leadership challenge to get back the premiership from her, and that he had the numbers to do it. She's become very unpopular, even within her own party. And of course, she's even more unpopular, I think, than Obama with her opponents here. And so she heard he was mounting this challenge and that he'd got the numbers in the Parliamentary Labour Party to win. And so what she did was to announce the date of the election very hastily, because then if he were to announce a leadership challenge, it would seem to the party like downright disloyalty, not just to her, but to the party as a whole, and then he wouldn't have the numbers. So it was a masterstroke on her part. And of course, she can also take advantage of the fact that during the campaigning, which has effectively already begun, she can do all of her campaigning on the government's dime, while the opposition can't. So she's hoping to gain advantage from it, but she is getting very close to having her collar felt in a criminal investigation. I can't give more details over the air, but it's certainly something which I'm not sure she'll even last out until September, because they are getting that close to her now. But in the meantime, she and her government introduced what is called a carbon tax. They were originally going to charge larger companies and fossil fuel companies and big manufacturers and farmers and miners and fishermen. They were going to charge them $23 for every ton of carbon dioxide they emitted as part of their electricity use. It was going to be enormously, cripplingly expensive. It was going to shut down the economy of Australia. Unfortunately, the opposition here, led by Tony Abbott, who is a very thoughtful, quiet, and extremely determined man, managed to divert her away from doing that. And in the end, she cut and ran and said, no, we can't charge $23 a tonne when the rest of the world is only paying, or at least the EU, which is the only other place that's really got a carbon tax, is only paying at the moment kind of $2 or $3 a tonne. And so she decided to link the carbon tax here with the European trading scheme so that the same price is charged for carbon dioxide here as in Europe. And of course, she will go on the television and say that what she's demonstrating is leadership in doing this, but the rest of the world is conspicuously not following. Even, of course, Obama's United States is not going to have the carbon tax. And of course, if you go further north to Canada, where Stephen Harper now has, as a Conservative, an overall majority as Prime Minister, a rare thing in their electoral system, he is shutting down all this environmental nonsense, all these creepy agencies that are going around trying to close down the economies of the West. While here in Australia, of course, these agencies are rampant. I'm speaking to you at the moment from the summit of Mount Lofty in Australia, just in South Australia, round the back of Adelaide. It's the most beautiful country around here. But of course, this is the middle of their summer, so it's fairly dry. And they all have, all the farmers up here, I'm staying with one of them, they all keep small dams that they've built to retain a bit of water to make sure that their stock and their crops can be watered when the rains don't come, which they don't come for 6 months of the year and sometimes for 7 years at a time. And what is happening is that in has come the Natural Resources Management Board of South Australia, one of the most hated bureaucracies on earth. And it's going round interfering with people's right to take water from the dams that they and their ancestors have built. As a result, farms are closing at so large a rate that since the 1970s, something like 100,000 farmers in Australia have already gone out of business. Not because they can't make money in farming, because they're pretty good at it out here. It's the biggest industry in Australia. No, it's because they're being pestered by so many bureaucrats. Just down the road from where I'm speaking, a few years ago, there was a guy extracting the water from his dam, or in fact it was from a neighbour's dam, but he had permission to do it, so that he could water his stock. And there were snoopers, this is how they do it, snoopers had been hiding for weeks behind a hedge on a hill nearby, watching him through binoculars. They didn't realise that he was supplying this water to his stock, and they eventually did a raid at 11 o'clock at night, while he was working on one of the pumps that wasn't functioning. They pounced on him. They drove their utility vehicle at him, which had a rhubarb on the front. They hit him with that, and he still has pain from that to this day, 6 years later. And then they left him for dead. And the next thing they did, realizing they'd done wrong, was to go and report that he had done to them what they had done to him. So when he went a week later or 2 weeks later to the police station after he got out of hospital to say that he'd been attacked in this way, he was immediately arrested on the ground, quite specious, that he had attacked them. That's what's going on here. I am now investigating this case, and I'm about to do an amicus curiae brief to the court that eventually convicted him of illegally taking water from that creek, because the conviction was wrong. I've already established that. He had taken none of the water they said he'd taken for any purpose other than supplying his stock, which he had written permission from the government to do.
Well, what's incredible is they're harassing everybody. I mean, I see the Australian...
It's Alex, because what we're going to do is, it looks to me at the moment, and I've got to do a little bit of further investigation, it looks to me at the moment as though these three agents of the Natural Resources Management Board committed attempted murder. Because that's what it is. If you drive your vehicle at somebody, you knock them down, and you leave them for dead, that's attempted murder. So we're not going to be patsies out here anymore. I've been talking to farmers all over the state. They're absolutely boiling furious at what's being done to them.
And have you noticed now the government that took the semi-auto rifles, now they want the bolt action and single shot. This is an authoritarian takeover. They're handing the entire continent over to the communist Chinese. That's on record. 99% of the rare earth minerals of Australia now run by state-run Chinese communist operations. But I see the newscast, mainline TV out of Australia. You've been there many times. I've never been there, where they show sheep farmers who own the land, and they say, sorry, you can't graze anymore. This has to be off use for the earth. Your sheep's flatulence is bad for the atmosphere. I mean, this is a real hardcore tyranny. People want to know what it's...
There is a notorious case here, that of Peter Spencer, who actually went on hunger strike to draw attention to the fact that
tied himself to a tower.
Ancestors had been farming the land for 3 generations, and then, in order to comply with some useless obligation under the now expired Kyoto Protocol, the Australian government arbitrarily said, right, we're taking away your right to farm your land because it's been designated as a carbon sink. And, of course, they're doing this all over Australia. They're driving farmers off their own land. And, of course, the property right in Australia is protected by the Constitution. So what they're craftily doing is they're just saying, we're not taking away your land, we're just telling you can't actually farm it. That, of course, renders the land worthless, and therefore, in effect, they have taken away your property right, but they've managed to dodge and duck and dive. And unfortunately, the courts here, rather like in the United States, are poodles of the government that pays their lavish salaries and pensions, and they will just not find against the government when the government behaves in this way.
All right, Lord Monckton, let me stop you for...
The mineral class, the 3 big industries here, farming, mining and fishing, all 3 of these are now up in arms because the Australian government and its various sinister agencies is attacking and attacking and attacking. They're trying to close Australia down, and the background to this, Alex, is Agenda 21, this UN program, all 40 chapters of it, which was first produced in 1992 at that ridiculous Rio Earth Summit. And the idea of Agenda 21 is to close down the economies of the West by saying that in the name of the environment, we must reduce the population of the Earth by 9/10, And we must do that, according to Bill Gates, by vaccination. He actually said it in a lecture I've seen on the internet. I couldn't believe it until I watched it. These people are completely out of control. And I made a speech just last night in one of the farming villages here. And the people in the audience were astonished when I told them this. And at first they thought, you know, is Monckton some kind of a flaming nutter? Is Alex Jones some kind of a nutter?
No, we're upset about what's happening. I've got to stop you, sir. We're going to break. We're going to come back and have you continue. Lord Christopher Monckton is our guest. Ladies and gentlemen, we have confirmed from local news station that we actually have a relationship with, the big news station in Houston. I'm a frequent guest on there. That indeed Piers Morgan is there in Houston. He is on the outskirts of it in the little town of Katy. He said, I'll be at an unnamed place 3 days ago. We know the name of the place because they bragged about it. Tactical Firearms. Tactical Firearms. Now, we've called them, and they're denying it. And you said, so no way he's going to be there? And they're like, well, we're just not going to say. But we found out local news is there. AM 740 KTRH did an interview with him, and we're going to post this up on Infowars.com, where the owner of Tactical Firearms said that he believes people should be registered to get ammo. Registered. I mean, this is incredible. So it's one of these big gun shops. There's a lot of these that just want to do what the ATF says. They just want to operate a few more years, and they'll do whatever. Hey, you want my guns? I'll turn them in. You want my guns? I'll turn them in. We're going to go to break and come back with Lord Monckton. I mean, this is a anti-gun gun shop that is groveling up to Piers Morgan, it looks like. And they're located on 1200 S Mason Road in Katy, Texas. Our store and range hours are Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. But they said February 4th, 2013, 6 p.m., that they're going to be closing early for a special event. And how cowardly. I'll guarantee you, when they hear I'm coming, they're going to have police out there. They're going to be freaking out in fear. And all I'm doing, by the way, I've got all his producers' phone numbers. I need it all. Okay? And by the way, I got to get on the horn. I want to get some of the retired cops I know that every once in a while do bodyguard work. I got to get one of them to go with me. Just because no telling what the other side will try. Anyways, the whole point is this is just amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely amazing that all of this is happening. All of this is unfolding right now. I mean, this just makes my head spin. I'm going. In fact, when this show ends, I'm saddling up. I'm going to Katy, Texas, and I want to see you there. We're going to do 5 minutes of overdrive so we don't cut into all the key intel that Lord Monckton's giving us. Look, they're having the Piers Morgan event in Katy, Texas. We have a huge listenership all over Texas. I don't care if you're in Dallas. I don't care if you're in Austin. I don't care if you're in Houston. I don't care where you are. If you're in Austin, you're like 2 hours away from Katy, because half the time getting to Houston is the hour into the city. It's so big. It's way out on the edge on the edge of town. And looking at this place, it looks like it only caters to cops. So they want to convert to that model where only the government has guns and we don't. And so this has been a anti-gun shop, and believe me, they've got them. Who are like, hey, we'll do whatever you want. If it's pop guns we can sell, we'll sell those, because they're just going to sell to the cops. And that's where he's going to be, and that's where he's going. Now, Piers Morgan is such a coward that he may just freak out and go somewhere else for all I know. But I'm going. And I want to see you there to bullhorn them from across the street. And invite him. Hey, if this was so discrediting, my interview with you, why haven't you had me back on? Lord Monckton, what do you think I should say to Piers Morgan if I see him again? I mean, didn't he get run out of your country?
Well, I think what you should say to him is that he should go back where he came from and not try to interfere in the internal affairs of the United States. I mean, yes, all these lefties are the same in the media. They all think that nobody should be allowed guns, that the police state should be allowed to push everybody around. And, well, you and I rather disagree with that, Alex. And, it has been said by some that you are right on the extreme fringe. Well, hey, somebody occasionally has to stand out a little bit from the crowd to try and warn the crowd of what's about to hit them. And there is no doubt now that the governing class worldwide is increasingly tying itself together using excuses such as climate change, Agenda 21, environment, using gun control as something we can all unite behind. This is the kind of slogan you hear. And so Piers Morgan is just part, if you like, of the establishment or the governing class, or what the French call the classe politique, who are increasingly remote and cut off from ordinary people like thee and me, who are simply trying to get on and do a job of work and not be interfered with by our rulers. And of course, the whole idea of the United States was not to be interfered with by your rulers. And unfortunately now, even in the United States, your government is trying to turn itself into a tyranny. The Environmental Protection Agency, just like the South Australia Bureau of Natural Resources Management, is trying to take over and interfere and effectively to legislate by the back door and to push people around. And you have these little tin pot officials in their shiny shoes and their polished suits rushing around in government cars, pestering farmers all over the place. And the Lord Monckton Foundation, which has been established here in Australia, is going as its first battle to take these people on and say, if you go around bullying farmers, for instance, and threatening them that you will drive them off their land, and that's one farmer I've talked to already has been threatened with that. If you go around and cheat them by saying that their reservoirs are 10 million litres when they're only 5 million litres, because if they're over 10 million, you're allowed to regulate and interfere. If you go around cheating like that, in future, we will have you for it. You will be up in either the civil or more probably the criminal court.
All right, let me stop you, Lord Monckton. Put him on hold real quick. Now, Mike Adams, who I really trust, says he knows tactical firearms and they're great guys. So this is all moving quick. And that they don't support bullet bans. So maybe that's not true. And if that's the case, I apologize. That's not right. But this is all moving quick. I know Piers Morgan has been bragging he's going to go to a place that's pro-gun control. Again, tactical firearms may be great guys. In fact, I was looking at photos of them with guns on their sides. It looks pretty good there. All right, folks, things move quick, and I was told, and I had the printouts and some of the news reports that were misconstrued, that the tactical firearms was having Piers Morgan down because they agreed with restricting bullets when you buy a bunch, getting a background check. And that is not what they believe. Mike Adams says he knows the owner for 5 years and that those news reports are incorrect. So I apologize to Tactical Firearms, tacticalfirearms.us. That was incorrect. The point is we know Piers Morgan is anti-gun. And there are some gun shops and gun people that are so scared of the ATF they are rolling over. And that's who I was talking about there. But if Mike Adams, who's 100% Second Amendment, says they're great, then I'm sure they're great. So people should definitely support them in the Houston area. And I've also confirmed Piers Morgan is like taping between about 3 and 6. So I'm on my way, Piers. Soon as the show ends, I'm coming. I am coming to protest you. Coming here telling me I should give my guns up. Now, if you were coming here saying you wanted to help me have my freedom, I'd say, well, join the club. But truly disgusting. Finishing up with Lord Monckton. Sorry to cut you off there at the end of the hour. But I want to see everybody down there at Tactical Firearms tonight, folks. Start getting over there right now in the next few hours. Other points you'd like to make, Lord Monckton, about where this attack worldwide is going. People are starting to wake up to Agenda 21, but is it enough? What do we do?
Well, I think the first thing is keep a very close eye on every environmental law that gets passed, because you'll find that what Agenda 21 does is that it works chiefly at local level. What these agents of the UN have done is they've gone round to local authorities and convinced them one by one that they should implement Agenda 21, because no national government would go as far as that. And there's an outfit called ICLEI, I-C-L-E-I. And if your local authority belongs to that organization, then boy, are you in trouble. These are the new dictators. They operate by stealth. And their vice chair recently said that in future, the individual must subject himself to the collective. And so this is straightforward, outright, in-your-face communism, dressed up as though it were to do with the environment. I call them the traffic light tendency, the greens too yellow to admit they're really reds. But they're operating bureaucratically through your local authority. And you need to find out, and you need to get onto your local authority representatives, your local councillors, etc., and you need to say to them that if they belong to ICLEI, you will vote for whichever party says that it will leave that organisation and have nothing to do with Agenda 21. You have to get Agenda 21 onto the agenda of local elections and make it clear that any candidate who supports Agenda 21 will not get elected by you. And once they all begin to realise that Agenda 21 is hated and feared by the people, as it should be, then they will break free. And just to let you know one piece of rather interesting news, a map was produced by ICLEI of the United States, which showed the places where humans could and could not go. More than half the map was covered in red, where humans were allowed to go under no circumstances at all. Nearly all the remainder was coloured in yellow, where you could go with a permit from the socialist state if you were very lucky and if they agreed to give you one. But there were a few tiny areas, most of them military installations to keep the people in line, and only a few, effectively, concentration camps where all the population of America would in future have to reside. And opponents of Agenda 21 took that map, they got hold of it at the last minute, they took that map to the US Senate and they showed it to senators and their staff hours before the Senate was...
And it shot it down. We're out of time. Lord Monckton, we're out of time. I don't think you can hear me over Skype when I talk to you at first. God bless you. Thank you so much for the time, sir.
Okay, all the best.
All right, we'll talk to him again soon. Folks, I'm going to Texas. I'm already in Texas. I'm going to the Piers Morgan deal. I confirmed, inside sources, inside, Piers Morgan is going to be there. Katy, Texas. We're going to protest peacefully. Saddle up, Texans, right now. The red coat is at the gate. To fully get control of the civilization and to have a technocratic, centralized system. And people say, this is a terrible future you're telling us about. I'm not the one manifesting this. The globalists are engineering it in that direction. We're going to be going over that report. Reuters report contradicts Obama skeet shooting photo. I don't even know what to say about this other than it's definitely a psyop, and this is cognitive dissonance that Cass Sunstein talked about and that Cass Sunstein engaged in, 4 years ago in public white papers, and that's why he was hired and brought into the White House. He's now left the White House, but for 4 years he was the head of their policy board. He was the czar, the regulation czar. I know shotguns. And I have photographed and videotaped, even as a novice before I had a TV show, firing shotguns and firing rifles and firing handguns over and over again. And I can tell you right now, that looks like a fake photo to me. And I actually noticed that first there's a controversy that, oh, he doesn't really skeet shoot or like guns, which they kind of stirred up. And then the White House over the weekend, and I'm going to cover this, I have it here in the stack once we get over some of the top news. The White House comes out and says, don't you claim this isn't real. And then another little comment, they say, by the way, this is copyright. No one is allowed to Photoshop this. This is only for media. Knowing that that will stir people up and make them go out and Photoshop it. And by the way, I've looked at the precedent, I've looked at the law. White House photos are public domain. You paid for it. That's why you can go to the National Archives and just pay for the copying, pay for the cost of copying and the tape, or now the hard drive, and get all of the gun pod footage, get all of the hydrogen bombs going off. Companies take it and then remaster it and then call it copyright. Or the voiceover is copyright on Discovery Channel or History Channel, but not the footage. And so I've actually looked into this. I've actually purchased National Archive film. You have to actually get it through another company or go, and you have to send someone in with the archivist, and that's how you buy it and get it. So I've actually been through the process, I know. Why would they come out and say, you will not use this, you will not Photoshop that? Cass Sunstein said, we'll go in and stir them up. We'll put out fake conspiracies. We'll get everybody hyped up. We'll get everybody diverted. We'll get everybody to look at fake conspiracy theories or conspiracy theories that don't matter. He wrote 2 papers on it. One for Chicago Business School, the neocon outfit, and one for Harvard. Look them up. He wrote them 6 years ago and then wrote more papers when he got in the White House in 2009. I mean, just look it up. Cass Sunstein, cognitive infiltration. I always say cognitive dissonance. It's cognitive infiltration. And that's what they're doing here. They put out a blatantly fake birth certificate so that we'd run around and talk about it all day, knowing the public would just choose sides or get confused while the insider trading goes on by Congress, while the UN openly is in command of our military along with NATO, while our government publicly arms and commands al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria and Mali and a bunch of other places, while TSA occupies every major city, from Seattle to L.A. to Dallas, Austin, Texas, Houston, Texas, Kansas City, Chicago, New York City, Boston, you name it. You name it. They're there. I mean, they're now there with, quote, spot checks on South Lamar at the bus terminals and the train terminals, but they also are doing it to people on the highway now. And it's totally illegal, and they search everybody's bags without warrants. And they're out of their jurisdiction, and it's all just a probing operation. And that ties in to this information that's coming up. Why is the government stockpiling guns and ammo? Joseph Farah, WorldNet Daily, asked. And he says, why is the government gearing up for war? Why are they buying billions of bullets? Why are they buying all the automatic weapons? Why are they buying armored vehicles? He says it's about the civilian national security force, as big, as strong, as well-funded as the Defense Department, to quote Barack Obama. And Farah says that's what he believes is going on. He says, I have some theories. You know, those of us that have been right all along need to stop saying we have theories. I'm going to get Joseph Farah back on. I want to get him back on this week or next week. Because it's all there. It's like you walk into your living room, there's a giant elephant sitting there on top of a pile of crap, excuse my French. And you're like, I don't know, I got a theory. That looks like an elephant. You're like, well, it's got big ears, it's gray, it's got hair, it's got giant feet, it's got tusks. I don't know, though. Look, it's all in the Army memos, the Army manuals. Maybe Farah's just a good writer, and he knows people like a mystery. You know, I notice everybody always calls me with, I think there's a FEMA camp in my neighborhood. I mean, under the Model States Health Emergency Powers Act, they designate the centers. And then you can cross-reference it with the Emergency Centers Establishment Act that just was giving more funding to already existing facilities and plans, and then it matches up to the 2002 FEMA plan. And you can look up all the clergy response team training, what they're training the preachers for, to, quote, go to the FEMA camp, take the shots, turn your guns in when you're told. This is all official. And then 4 years after we break the news here on Genesis, it's mainstream media. And InfraGard and Brigade Homeland and Army Times and all the countless drills. And I've talked to the Delta Force people off record. They talked to Lieutenant Beck here in town. He gave me info, so they ran him out of the SWAT team. Vietnam veteran, patriot, great guy, ran him out, kicked him out of the Travis County SWAT team because he gave me information that was not classified. I went in his office 2 years before, and I said, you're going to be approached by Delta Force, and when they do, you need to understand it's illegal. And they're going to offer you money. And this is part of a corruption program, just like they corrupt third world countries. That's how they took over Iraq. And I said, next they're going to be asking you to deal drugs. And he said, get out of here. That's posse comitatus. I'm a Vietnam sniper vet. That's unconstitutional. It'll never happen. You're nuts. And I said, they're approaching every city in the country. They will approach you. He calls me up 2 years ago. He goes, can you come to my office, please? Delta Force card. Everything he said, I said was, of course I'm right. I know what I'm talking about. This is martial law. Alex Jones here, back live. I'm going to open the phones up on the Super Bowl power outage, what you think that was all about. I've got some news concerning it that's pretty amazing I'm going to get to. Even mainstream news is reporting is an Illuminati conspiracy because the singer flashes an Illuminati hand sign and then the power goes out. And it's just all part of them extending it out, having more time for ads, and getting everybody ready for the power to start going out. In fact, in Europe and worldwide, they have Earth Day where everybody turns their lights out for the day, for the evening, for 1 hour. They have a lot of different special greeny holidays where they want to accustom you to everybody has their power go out. Because only the government did stand-downs. We know that happened. We know the official story's a lie. Doesn't mean there aren't, quote, Muslim extremists. But see, the system comes out and has their operatives say, there were no planes. And the originator of that, it later turned out, worked for the CIA. Very strange. See, so when I say there could be government involvement or criminal involvement by other actors at Sandy Hook, the spin is, oh, you're saying nobody died. No, I'm saying people did die. But there's clear scripting and things. So it's a complex issue, but we're going to be getting into that. The power outage. It appeared to be staged by yours truly. They're getting you ready, and they've said this, to have more and more power outages across America. This is going to be a new way of life, just as it was in Romania under Ceausescu. So we're going to break that down as well. In the latest Second Amendment news, it is all key. Don't tread on me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this live Monday edition. Marines to invade South Carolina. That is just the daily news as large expeditionary forces of the Army, the Marines, the TSA, you name it, practice taking over Capitol buildings, practice taking over schools, practice taking over malls. And I have been to many of these urban warfare training events, but we also see it now currently reported in the news. In many of the drills, they practice mowing down human wave attacks. They are simulating killing, in some cases, unarmed American citizens. And when the public videotapes it and gets upset, they say, oh, it's a zombie drill. It's a joke. That's why we've got 1,000 Marines, landing in San Diego a few months ago to practice killing zombies. Oh, that's why there's black helicopters that lease a building in the middle of town and then blow it up and catch it on fire, and men are rappelling down off ropes and the police are involved. It's all to acclimate and condition the public. On record for martial law. It's all official. In the Army training manuals, in the Army Times, in Stars and Stripes. Brigade Homeland since 2008 has been officially announced, and they plan to have troop force up to 370+ thousand troops. That is the goal. And they're going to pull them out of Iraq, out of Afghanistan, and they're going to be the new domestic military. And you're going to have Obama, we have a clip of that coming up in a moment, running around giving more speeches saying we need a domestic security force just as big, just as strong as our military. You've all seen and heard that quote over and over and over again. And we should do another special report this week showing top brass talking about it on C-SPAN, the Pentagon talking about it in Pentagon videos online. You've got not just Rahm Emanuel in 2 different speeches saying you'll have national service, but now you're seeing all these other groups pushing for it, and they're telling high schoolers, hey, it's going to be compulsory that you serve in the new FEMA Corps, but it's not going to be planting trees. It's not going to be building national park bunkhouses like they had in the 30s and 40s with the national make-work programs. It's going to be unpaid compulsory volunteerism, which is another Orwellian term. This is the insanity of the world that we live in. Look at this other article up at Infowars.com. Robots replace waiters in China. That's right. They're not just going to replace manufacturing jobs and have robots working on the robots. No, now they're going to replace people as waiters. And again, the globalists have decided to go with this angle to make humans obsolete. To make humans obsolete. It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Here we are, Monday, already the 4th day of February, 2013. I am your host, Alex Jones. All right, here's what's going to happen. We've got Lord Monckton, who is over in Australia, popping in for 30 minutes at the tail end of the broadcast today. He's going to be joining us to talk about Agenda 21 4 or 5 years ahead of us, because Australia, more than any other country, except for maybe England, is implementing this neo-feudalistic form of serfdom, and that's the UN's own words. They've called for a fake environmentalism to bring in serfdom to control the population. So that's coming up. Now, we are going to open the phones up and take your phone calls here today as well. Yesterday on the Sunday broadcast, I said that I was going to cover the mysterious death of Chris Kyle, the highly decorated Navy SEAL who was involved in all sorts of clandestine black ops, obviously, and wrote the Navy's official sniper manual, their new sniper manual. They didn't have one previous to that. They used the Marine Corps sniper manual. But he wrote an updated manual, and he was deep into the system, obviously, and was the head trainer for the Navy SEALs in their sharpshooting program. We saw the Navy SEALs helicopter in SEAL Team 6 blow up with 20-something of them aboard. We saw the other helicopter blow up in the fake bin Laden raid. So much of this is domestic psyops, and the SEALs more and more are used as a political core with the new SEAL Team 6 Zero Dark 30 movie, which they admit is basically fiction. We're being bombarded with lies. And I got to tell you, the fact that he was pushing to put guns in schools and arm teachers, and the fact that he knew so many secrets, and then somebody he takes out to the range with PTSD trying to help him, that's the story we're told. We don't know if any of this is true. We're being told this by the government. And then he's killed. You see, I'm not a conspiracy theorist in the way the media uses it. When known liars, certified liars, who've been caught lying over and over and over again and caught staging things, tell me something, I don't just immediately believe it. That doesn't mean the official story isn't true, because sometimes you get people who are not corrupt in the system, or it's a real event. Sometimes the truth comes out because you've got good people in media, good people in government, and it's not a staged event, and so you'll have regular folks involved. But when it is a staged event, you'll see key players involved and key scripting, and you'll see an official story being put out very, very quickly. And the shaping immediately and the preparation and the unification of the propaganda is a telltale sign. We saw that with the Aurora shooting in Colorado and then all the other telltale signs. And we do see it in Sandy Hook to a great extent. I believe there was a shooting there. You know, it's like we say there's an inside job on 9/11. That just means criminal elements of the globalist structure somehow opened the door, allowed it to happen, or districts are going to have the power. And see, for a new listener, it's like, man, is everything a conspiracy with this guy? I have so much knowledge on this, it's very frustrating. I'm not bragging, hey, I have knowledge. It's freaking me out that the general public doesn't have one 1/100th of the information I have because you're focused on making money and doing your job and trying to take care of your kids and trying to have a good life. I don't blame you. I get it. You work hard. You want to go watch a football game. You work hard. You want to be left alone. You work hard. You want to go get in your sports car and go drive 100 miles an hour out in the countryside. I get it. You work hard. You want to go out and go water skiing, or you want to go out and have some fun, go out and party. The problem is we've been taken over, and things are going to get very, very bad. But as things get worse and worse, people are going to say, well, let me just have my entertainment. Let me just leave me alone. In fact, statistics and history shows as things get worse, people tend to get even more into entertainment and more into escapism. And the social engineers know that. But what they can't get over is tribal images and archetypes and signets, runes of power. And that's what guns are, that's what property is, that's what parenthood is. It's real things like weapons and children and property. This is all real. And they can't get rid of that last little pieces, the family, men and women, and their desire for one another. Friendship, people standing up for one another. That's why all the messages are, don't stand up for people, screw other people, cheat other people, get ahead, so that you're all atomized and can't come together. I mean, when I get up here and say the Super Bowl power outage looks staged, you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that I know. In fact, I want to do a special report on this. It's just that I want to do a special report on everything. I want to document everything and every article I cover. Every one of these 200 articles is probably more than can we have a document cam, guys? There's probably 200 different articles here. Every one of them I could spend 3 hours on and then give you supporting backup information on each and every one of them, proving why I believe what I believe, why I say what I say, what I'm going over, what I'm breaking down. Okay? I mean, here's an example. I have the UN proclamations in the 1960s and 70s saying they wanted to train people to not have electricity and to not expect electricity 24 hours a day and to not accept running water and to not accept things, and that the globalists could charge us more money for a gallon of water than for 10,000 gallons of it, and that society was set up wrong, and that wealth was making us too free, and the social engineers were going to lose control of technological development and their global monopoly of power if they didn't bring the general population back into feudal serfdom. And that's why all the trendy resorts and all the trendy restaurants all over the country and other countries I've been to, you go in and they're not low flush toilets. There is no water. They're not low flush urinals. There is no water. And you're at a 5-star restaurant and the bathroom stinks like a gas station because the urine's going down into a cistern below that gets processed and turned into fertilizer and stuff. Okay? They make it trendy to be a slave, just like the ancient Chinese emperors. They were told it's stylish to not be able to walk. It's stylish to not be able to feed yourself. And the ruling power behind the throne fully took over. This is the system. They tell you it's stylish to be a slave. They tell you it's stylish not to be manly. They tell you it's stylish not to be a classical mother. They tell you all of this not to empower you, but to enslave you. So see, I know this was a stunt. I know in my gut, and I know their MO. 99% chance, okay? 99%.